And in cold, hard cash, it's Hail Marys and money. Enter now at talk.tv/win and get set for a gilt-edged trip to the Golden State you'll never forget. For your chance to win, text TALK to 8338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343-418-7260. Lines close 22nd January 2026, 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus. UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at TalkSport.com. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 8338 now. Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk. Across.
A very good morning to you. What is it? Thursday the 15th of January with Talk, of course, where the nation comes to talk, where the alarm clock Brits who do their thing and pay their taxes have their say. And as ever, if you want to be on, there's so much in the news today. Loads of people lined up. Great lineup today. 0344 499 1000. You can get those voice notes in as soon as you've got an opinion. Christian raring to go. Hasn't had much sleep. Suffering from what most people who have children do, which is, why did you wake up at 1 o'clock? It makes no sense. Everybody else is going, yeah, glad I haven't got kids. You can text 87222, start your message with the word talk. Not going to inundate you, but there's two main news stories today, obviously. 4 million people, 4 million of us will be denied the vote in May's local election in what is being, quite rightly, I think, described as a disgraceful attack on our democracy. The government, bless them, is expected to cancel at least 27 council elections, meaning hundreds of councillors will avoid the risk of losing. The Tories and Reform up in arms, saying this is outrageous. Love to know what you think, surely. I mean, the conspirators amongst you will say, is he going to cancel the general election? But this is absolutely nothing more than Starmer running scared. Running scared of the fact that this country is rejecting almost everything he and his government talk about. 0344 499 1000. You might have, well, if you've been listening to this station, we've been following this story for weeks. I am beyond confused. Yesterday, the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, stood up in Parliament and said she'd lost confidence in that useless West Midlands Police Chief Craig Guilford. He, though, this morning, ready for this? I'm not going to resign. It's very unfair the way... Sorry, you lied, you anti-Semitic, useless piece of crap. You lied. You should resign. And even worse, the West Midlands Police and Crime Commissioner, I'd love his name. I need to see all the facts. I'll deal with it in a month. If I was Shabana Mahmood, I'd sack both of them. I'd have forced something through Parliament last night and got rid of them. This guy, Craig Guilford, is symptomatic with what's wrong with this country. He has kowtowed. This is not me being in any way far-right or racist. He has absolutely kowtowed to the Muslim vote in that area to make sure that Jewish football fans cannot come to a match. Then he's lied in the Commons and lied to the press, and if anybody else in any other job had done that, they'd be out on their ear. 6:05 now. It's National Pothole Day. Samara Gill, our roving reporter, SOS, send our Samara. I'm trying to work out how to say this. I'm going to have her in a hole up to her knees. We'll bring her later. All right, James Price, don't start. Now, the other good thing is, I don't know whether you watched Prime Minister's Question Time yesterday, but Keir Starmer goes from being the biggest U-turning incompetent human being to a man who thinks it might be a good idea to make a dad joke. This was Keir Starmer attempting to make us laugh yesterday in the House of Commons. Have a watch, have a listen.
Speaker, on consistency, don't get me started on 5 Prime Ministers, 6 Chancellors, 8 Home Secretaries, 16 Housing Ministers. They had more positions in 14 years than the Kama Sutra. No wonder they're knackered and they left the country screwed.
That's what you call a dad joke. The Tories had more positions than the Kama Sutra. Would he know? Would he not know? I just thought it's Thursday. Honestly, we're not allowed to vote. We've got police who are in the pockets of whatever. Why don't we just do a little bit on National Pothole Day on good dad jokes? So we've all been scrabbling around. The best I've got so far is, don't know what you think. We'd love your dad jokes, 87222. We might even give a prize out. A yoghurt. I can have a yoghurt. For the best one, 87222. I went down the local supermarket. I said, I want to make a complaint, mate. He said, what? I said, this vinegar's got lumps in it. He went, they're pickled onions, you... There you go. 87222. And a very good morning to James Price.
Good morning, sir.
Got one for me, dad joke?
Can I give you a dad limerick?
Oh, yeah. Oh, is it rude?
I'll moderate.
Moderate.
The Bishop of Central Hong Kong had a thing that was 12 inches long.
Yes.
He thought that the waiters admired his gaiters when he went to the loo, but he's wrong.
Hey! Who'd have thought? Where do you get that? JP, welcome. Kama Sutra joke.
Well, the best joke for me, but you can see the Tory front bench visibly cringing at it.
Yeah.
But you could also see behind the Labour MPs thinking, oh my God. I actually saw a friend of mine I was at university with who's a Labour MP, sat on the 2nd or 3rd row, a very good person. I'm sure one of the few Labour MPs actually got into politics to try and make the world a slightly better place. Is sat there thinking, I've got to ruin my reputation defending this guy and the U-turns and now this. And I could see her wanting to sort of shrink inside out and disappear.
I started to feel uncomfortable for him.
Yes.
Would that be fair?
In a way, all the kind of scheming behind his back by Wes Streeting and Ed Miliband and Angela Rayner and Bridget Phillipson and all these ghastly people, it might just be nice to put him out of his misery at this point.
He certainly looks like a man who's on death row politically, doesn't he?
It's always nice to see that when politicians get the sort of top job, whether it's Gordon Brown or Rishi Sunak or him, and realise they hate it and don't enjoy it, there's a nice kind of...
Or are not good enough to do it.
That's also true.
Who are not good enough to do it. And I know a lot of people will say, come on, Jez, can't be about Starmer every day. No, let's make it about democracy. Again, 2 main news stories. I mean, this is on the front page of almost every paper. I'll take the Telegraph, my friends. 4 million of us denied the right to vote. Prime Minister running scared of public. 27 councils poised, James Price, to cancel elections. Now, on a serious note, that is beyond infringement on our democratic rights, isn't it?
Absolutely right. So this is all about the idea that the Labour government, and again, I don't trust that this is going to go well at all, are going to try and reduce the number of councils overall, because we do have different tiers. You know, people will know you've got a local parish.
Don't start on tiers.
Council.
Don't start on tiers.
Well, exactly. Starmer is very sensitive to being called 2-tier here, so he's trying to reduce some of these. Your county councils, borough councils, district councils, all these different things, trying to rationalise them. I'm sure there is an argument for that. It would be quite interesting to get into all of that. Do I trust Liz Stock to be able to do it? No. But they've already cancelled one set of elections last year because they say, well, you know, these people might not be around very long to do these jobs. And definitely, we promise any day now our restructuring is coming. So in a few months, these councillors who got elected will no longer have jobs. And Steve Reid, who is the member of the Labour cabinet in charge of this, saying, the public don't want this to happen. Yeah, right. right, nice try on that one. But if you think back to 2019,
yeah.
we were trying to get out of the European Union. We were failing to do it. We promised we'd get out, then we didn't. And the next set of European, I call them elections, because it's not like members of the European Parliament actually had any proper power, but those elections rolled around, and we had to go and do those elections again. I think it was when the Brexit Party topped the poll, and then the Lib Dems came second. The Tories got absolutely shellacked, and it was the end of the road for Theresa May that led to all of that. And those MEPs were only in there for, 10 months? Something like that. But it was incredibly important that people had that election. They had the right to do it, even if it was going to be expensive and they weren't going to be around for very long, because that's democracy. That is giving a legitimacy to why we hand over the people this power. And for having one guy just saying, well, they'll only be there for a few months, so it doesn't really matter. It doesn't work like that.
And also, I think you have to look, this is me at my most serious, at the wider implications. If you're suddenly saying, I'm going to take away from the British people their right to judge their peers in a court of law, we don't want juries. We're going to take away your right to vote, even as you say, if those elected officials last, I don't care if they last a week, you are taking away the definitive right. And it's hardly surprising, is it, that on the basis of that, right, people are saying this government are absolutely what a socialist government have always been, which is spend what you haven't got and curtail the rights of human beings as the state increases its powers. Thatcher said it years ago, and I have no anywhere near your intelligence when it comes to politics, but how in the name of God are you supposed to sell to the British public, who are struggling, all of the alarm clock Brits that listen here, who are right now on their way to work or trying to get the kids up or trying to run and eat breakfast and get to a meeting? What, I'm not allowed to vote because you're going to restructure? It's pretty bloody convenient, isn't it, Starmer, that you're planning to restructure at the exact moment that you are on your arse politically. There is no advisor in the world that can sell that to me. None.
No, absolutely not. There's as you say, there's the kind of dirty politics of all of this, which is that the Tories probably would lose more councillors than Labour. Labour would lose lots of councillors.
The Tories are against this, though. They've slammed this as well.
Yeah, exactly right. And Kemi Badenoch has rightly said this, although she hasn't mandated a couple of the Tory councils who have asked for it as well, which is a little bit silly. She said, I'm not a dictator. No, but you are the party leader and you could do that, and I think probably should to stand up to this stuff a bit more. So there's the dirty politics of it, and there's the fear that Reform would go and take loads of these Labour seats in this election, which is obviously true. They're going to go and do that anyway. It gives Farage more ammunition, which is why every attack that Labour does helps Farage out, because they're so stupid they can't do it. But more fundamentally, you said about the right to vote. It's not a privilege. It's not a nice to have.
No.
It's not a cuddly, cute piece of civic engagement. It is the cornerstone of our unwritten, or largely unwritten, constitution, going back hundreds of years, going back to the Glorious Revolution and really before that, codified by some of the greatest thinkers of all time. Someone like John Locke, probably the greatest philosopher this country's ever produced. Even I know that. And then, you've got the antecedents of the Greeks and all the rest of their stuff as well. This stuff is fundamental. And unfortunately, when the Conservatives locked people away for COVID, it might have been nice to think we're doing that to save old people and the infirm and all the rest of it. That was taking away some fundamental rights, which was a mistake, because you now let the next lot who come in think, well, rights aren't rights, they're a privilege, they're just a nice to have. We can take away your right to vote, we can take away your right to do this, we can take away your right to do that. And this is why people say you can vote your way into communist governments, but you've got to shoot your way out of them.
It's very good. God, that's accurate. 30 minutes past 6 on a Thursday morning. James Price here, 0344 499 1000. I want to play a bit of Prime Minister's Question Time yesterday, because, credit where credit's due. She's got him on the rack, Badenoch, although I will say as well, I think it's disgraceful that other parties get one question every 6 weeks. I genuinely believe that. You watch Farage and you think he's just chomping at the bit, but that's the way the system works. This is Starmer and Badenoch. She had a go, because yesterday we were celebrating 13 U-turns in 18 months. Honestly, what was the latest one? Digital ID. Have a watch of PMQs yesterday. This is brilliant.
He says no one's going to listen to us. Who's going to listen to him? The winter fuel allowance, U-turn. Waspy women, U-turn. The two-child benefit cap, U-turn. Grooming gangs inquiry, U-turn. The family farms tax, U-turn. Digital ID, U-turn. Jury trials, U-turn. We hope so. We hope so. I think that's going to be the next one, Mr. Speaker. Week after week, these poor people sitting behind him have to defend the indefensible, only for him to U-turn a few days later.
Here's the difference. I changed my party, and that's why we stand here with a majority Labour government. She sits there with her party that lost 2/3 of their MPs at the last election, and she's losing more every week. They're queuing up to join the member of Clacton's laundry service for disgraced Tory politicians.
A laundry service for disgraced politicians. We have to touch upon it. Nadeem Zahawi, Monday, that big sort of defection. You'd worked with Nadeem. I just wanted to give you the chance briefly to have your say on that.
Yeah, well, it's not gone down quite as wonderfully as it might have done a few years ago when Nadeem was probably the most popular politician in the country for getting us out of those awful lockdowns I just criticised by that vaccine rollout. Not his decision to do any of that stuff, but he was tasked with getting it out. I think Boris Johnson called him his version of Beaverbrook, the guy that got the Spitfire production and everything else going in the war, and that's what enabled us to get back outside again and out of the lockdowns. He is a dear friend of mine. We still work together on lots of business things, and is one of the most talented and capable people I've ever had the privilege to work with. You would expect me to say that, but it is true. And I think that if he is deciding now to get back into frontline politics, that's a good thing for the country. It's a great thing that Reform have got him if he puts his shoulder to the wheel, as he said that he would now, because he is more talented than most people who've been through Parliament in the last 50 years, more dedicated, more hardworking. But the mixed reaction shows that he's got to go back out there and explain some of the tax stuff and all the rest of it. Now, again, I'm really biased on this, and I was there in the trenches with it, so I have a personal opinion that he was treated very, very poorly and shabbily by Rishi Sunak and by the ethics advisor.
I think a lot of people were treated shabbily by Sunak. Well, I completely agree with that.
Look at Dominic Raab in the weeks that followed. Sunak didn't bother backing any of these sorts of people.
The only person who had the balls, actually, was Jake Berry, who walked into Sunak's office and he said, before you say anything, I wouldn't work for you in a million years, and resigned.
Right. Yeah, absolutely right. Good on Jake for doing that. He also has gone over to Reform.
Absolutely.
So I've got to hope, and I think this is right, that when you saw Farage and Zahawi sat next to each other and there was that usual argy-bargy, well, you said that he was a racist before and you said that he was a failed this, that and the other, and they both laughed and they said, look, that's politics, right?
Of course it is.
Everyone knows that this, like we're seeing the kind of drama at PMQs here, everyone knows, and it's probably a negative because it's politicians fibbing, basically, about how angry they actually are about things. But I like to think that shows that an eventual, probably not at this election, but who knows, a rapprochement between the right is easier now to do, that you can put all that stuff as water under the bridge. Because to me, I'm a Tory, but I'm a big fan of both parties. I think what Reform are doing is really important in putting important issues back on the main agenda.
Yeah.
We've got to have a situation where the two right of centre parties, you don't disagree on very much, really, anymore. And increasingly, as Reform are now getting more serious about the debt and our deficit and these sorts of issues, they've got to come together in some way, shape or form, I think. And I know lots of people say, no, we'll never trust the Tories again. And that's a job for the Tories to try and make themselves more trustworthy across the board.
She's certainly doing well. I just think with Badenoch, she might well be the right person at the wrong time, like, hey.
I think that's entirely possible.
There will be massive numbers of people, to give you the other side, who will believe that the Tories have to be in the wilderness for years because they've lost their trust, and they would include Zahawi in that. There are people attacking Nigel the other day saying, you've got no experience, so you bring in something like Zahawi, and then you're what is it?
You're damned if you do, damned if you don't, right?
But I just want to go back to Starmer, right? Whether the right converges, whether Reform wins a majority, whether the Tories continue to rise, he genuinely looks like a beaten man. It's almost like the Prime Minister of this country, a man who represents my country on the international stage, has got to a point where it is cheap barbs. She looks like she's got him on the end of a skewer. Thank you, by the way, to all the people who are commenting this morning. Mo in Leicester, for the sake of democracy, why don't they delay the restructure? It will cost absolutely nothing. This is the story that you're not allowed to vote in 27 councils because apparently they want to restructure. That's apparently what the Labour Party is starting. Morning, JK. So we have yet another U-turn on the Keith Stalin merry-go-round of lunacy. There is something seriously wrong with that man, and he's probably like to sign off the Chinese embassy. He's either monumentally stupid or genuinely wants to destroy this country. Does James agree?
Yeah, I think it's a really great point to bring up this Chinese mega embassy story. If people have come across this.
We were doing it yesterday. We sent Samara out there yesterday. This is outrageous.
It's so important. And it gets to a point where I hope that the Chinese Communist Party has got compromat on Starmer and his top team, because the alternative, that they are just this stupid and this weak, is almost too awful to contemplate.
It's next to a sort of a technological base in London. I don't know, but wires and channels and security, and they could get all this information. There is definitive proof that the Chinese have spied on us, inside Parliament and outside Parliament. What is he? They called him Peking's poodle yesterday.
That's an excellent... It's extraordinary. And look, maybe 15 years ago, you could be forgiven for being a little bit naive on the Chinese Communist Party. It looked like it was opening up. They did that lovely display at the 2008 Beijing Olympics.
Nice.
They brought them into the World Trade Organization, all these sorts of things under Clinton. I think, look, this is going to be amazing. We'll have all these great liberalising forces. China will open up to the world. They'll see how great it is to have democracy and Coca-Cola and all these things. Well, they took the Coca-Cola and they left the democracy.
Yeah.
And now people don't realise that Xi Jinping, the president, the leader of the party, is a sort of Trumpian figure on steroids. You know, his model is in a way make China great again, but rather than actually continuing to help with the economic rise and engaging with the world and the rest of it, probably slowed their economic growth enormously by being this aggressive, by being this totalitarian and clamping down, to the terribly dystopian point that you had drones flying around during those very brutal lockdowns that China had to do, blasting out noises to people in tenement blocks and flats. Ignore your soul's cry for freedom and stay locked in, it would play in Mandarin. These people are not our friends. This is the biggest threat to freedom and to liberty the world will probably ever face, God willing. And the idea that we think, oh no, it'll be fine, we can trust them, they've said they wouldn't do it, despite the weird torture chamber they've got, they won't say.
Isn't
what
it
they're
weird
do
to
with it
think that our Prime Minister is taking away our right to vote, but is happy to apparently pass the building of the biggest ever super Chinese embassy with all of the problems that will entail in the centre of London, 6:20. Of course, all of the politics, we'll talk about the West Midlands in a minute, your lack of voting, nothing, of course, means anything to anybody other than the dad jokes. Because yesterday, Starmer stood up in the House of Commons and told a joke about the Kama Sutra, which, of course, I don't really know about the Kama Sutra, but apparently it's about sexual positions. He said, I'm just saying it, the Tories had more positions than the Kama Sutra. So we just thought that we'd throw it out there. Brilliant morning, Jez. Mark from Falkirk here. Why can polar bears not eat penguins, James Price? Because they can't get the wrappers off.
Yeah,
why are skeletons so calm? Because nothing gets under their skin. That's great. That's Tim from wherever. Graham Pack, will it be calmer when Starmer finally resigns? Graham from Bushy. Yes, it probably will. Well done. Carl in Knutsford, lovely. My favourite dad joke comes courtesy of the late, great Bob Monkhouse. I told my wife this morning that she'd painted her eyebrows rather high. She looked very surprised.
Very good.
Loving it. As
what
we
was
left
the Tommy Cooper one? I'm on the whiskey diet. So far, I've lost 3 days.
Yes, this is true.
Great.
That's what Keith says. As we left the restaurant, she kissed me and said we should have dinner again. I said, I don't think so, I'm full. Keith in Wolverhampton.
That's a winner so
brilliant.
far.
Chris Howarth. Morning, Jez. What's made out of leather and sounds like a sneeze? Ashoo! Very good. And Dowry says, morning, Gene. Brilliant. Either he's written that wrong or I'm Gene. He says, this is my favourite so far. Why don't skeletons ever fight each other? Because they don't have the guts. 6:22, we're live across the UK. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show on Talk. You're waking up to this news. 4 million people, well, 4 million of us, will be denied the vote in May because Keir, in what most people would see as a disgraceful attack on our democracy, has said, I want to rearrange, so you're not going to vote. People are up in arms. The Tories, reform, what do you make of it? We will talk also about this ridiculous situation in the West Midlands where that Chief Constable, Craig Guilford, still hasn't resigned. We'll get into that, but we'll say good morning to Andy first.
Morning, Jeremy. I couldn't help myself for this one. I do apologise in advance. It's pretty bad. But man walks in the butcher's shop, says to the butcher, excuse me, have you got a pig's head? The butcher says, no, it's just the way I comb my hair. Phew, I'll get my coat. See you later.
Times just reported that Keir Starmer has abandoned plans for mandatory digital ID for workers amid concerns that it will undermine public trust in the scheme. Instead, they will be optional when they are introduced in 2029, with workers given the choice of whether to use other documents to verify their identity digitally instead.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning and welcome back. 6:25. We're live across the United Kingdom. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show on the home of common sense. This is Talk. However you watch, on the app, listen on the radio, on DAB, or watch the television, we appreciate your support. It's where people come to have their say. Pete, good morning, me old son.
This cancellation of the local elections, it's nothing less than cheating, isn't it? If you think about it, they're cheating in order not to get thrown out immediately in some cases. Absolute disgraceful. There must be something in law that says that this can be, they can't do this. How can a government be allowed to get away with this?
There's the thing, Pete. They've got a majority government. They can get away with anything. This is very interesting. A joke, but there's an irony about this. Tim says, what goes backwards when going forwards?
Go on.
A Labour government.
There it
Hey,
is.
we get it in there. Jez, good show. Level the policy bashing. Why do squirrels swim on their backs?
Keep their,
To keep their nuts dry. Norman in Hertfordshire, yay! You're winning so far, Norm. The yoghurt could be yours. Right, let's get to the other main news story. Front page of The Mail. Shameless, and it is shameless. A scathing report condemns the West Midlands Police lies. Let's just fill this in a little bit. Craig Guilford is, of course, the chief constable. Nobody knew who he was before all of this. Some months ago, a football match in the Europa League between Aston Villa and Maccabi Tel Aviv, a Jewish Israeli team, was about to take place when the West Midlands Police announced that after consultation with local community leaders and others, it would be best if the game was cancelled because of security issues. Now, cue lots of questions, because we were finding videos of certain Muslim groups in that area saying, you don't come, and we played these. These are genuinely true. And people were really questioning how this was fair. Turns out yesterday that Craig Guilford had to apologise because he'd appeared in front of MPs, and I want to explain this, and said, oh, the facts that I was given, maybe I was lied to. Apparently this force used AI and created, a match that Maccabi Tel Aviv had actually played against my team, which never took place, West Ham, as an excuse to say, in that match, their fans were outraged. The match never took place. Yesterday, Shabana Mahmood, under real pressure, I thought, this is your moment, stands up and she says, I've got no confidence in this man. Let's just see, firstly, her response in the House of Commons yesterday. Shabana Mahmood.
The ultimate responsibility for the force's failure to discharge its duties on a matter of such national importance rests with the Chief Constable. And it is for that reason that I must declare today that the Chief Constable of West Midlands Police no longer has my confidence.
Now, you see, you'll help me out here. She's the Home Secretary. She allegedly has no power to get over a man who's an anti-Semitic, incompetent liar. OK, that's what you are, Craig Guilford. You obviously haven't got the balls to resign yourself. And we've got a Home Secretary who says, it's not my responsibility, it's that of the Police and Crime Commissioner. Turns out that the Police and Crime Commissioner, I mean, it gets even, is a Corbynista who refuses. What's this person's name? Do we know who the
Foster? Somebody Foster.
Simon Foster, who is the West Midlands Police and Crime Commissioner, is the only person who can sack Mr. Guilford. Refused to take any decisions until he'd be given the facts and the findings in a month's time. Corbynista. No, that means he's a Jeremy Corbyn fan, not that he makes coffee. I don't understand, and neither will the public, why a majority government, if I was Shabana Mahmood yesterday, I would have summoned that police and crime commissioner, I would have summoned that bloke and I'd have sacked them both on the spot. This is utterly anti-Semitic. It runs at the core of a Labour Party that said, we're not anti-Semitic anymore. I know people get very angry. I've got Jewish friends and I think it's utterly disgusting. I'm sick and tired of hearing about Islamophobia and not anti-Semitism. This guy should be fired instantly, and he won't.
No, he won't be. So here we go. So the reason why Shabana Mahmood, as the Home Secretary, doesn't currently have the power to be able to do anything.
Then make the power.
This is exactly right. It is that the argument has gone that the Metropolitan Police and all the other police forces should have, quote, operational independence from politicians. The idea being that you couldn't have a politician saying, right, I don't like Jeremy Kyle, I want you to go and investigate him, I want you to go and make his life a living hell, I want you to go and harass him in the street.
Sorry, hold on, I don't want to have an argument with you, but they've got that opinion, the Labour Party, but they want to get rid of juries and allow one judge to define whether somebody's guilty or not. That's total hypocrisy.
Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse. You're completely right, of course. So that's the reasoning why. And they said, well, that's okay now, because we've created, and this was, I think, under the Conservatives, these police and crime commissioners who are at least directly elected in local elections. I mean, the turnout is obviously very low and far too low. Here in London, by the way, it's Sadiq Khan. Also has that.
But he gave himself the job.
He is, as well as being London Mayor, he is, by definition of that, he is the Police and Crime Commissioner. Here it's this chap who is, as you say, a Corbynista, big picture of him with a big red Labour rosette on. He actually had his power briefly taken away by the old West Midlands Metro Mayor Andy Street a few years ago because he was so bumbling, and that was given to him by the Tourism government.
Did he beat Andy Street? Did he replace?
No, he didn't beat Andy Street, but Andy Street was the person who had some control over him because it was devolved. This guy, Foster, went to the High Court and got his power back off this guy because he is a lawyer, not a leader, if that rings any bells.
Oh, yeah, ding dong.
So this guy is now trying to hide behind all this process so that he can't get into trouble. The problem, of course, of all of this is, well, there's several problems with it. One is this idea that this person is not actually a leader at all because he's hiding behind all the lawyers and the process and the rest of it. That is not the job of a politician. It's not the job of a leader. You have to make big calls. To govern is to choose. And exactly as you said about this with Shabana Mahmood, the sovereign entity in this country is Parliament. We've expressed that time and time again, starting with the starting with Magna Carta, the Saxons before that, then in the Reformation, then in the break with Rome, then again in the Civil War, then again in the Glorious Revolution, then again over and over and over again, including Brexit, and we'll have to do it again with the ECHR. So if a government with a majority wants to, it can do anything. It can make Parliament sit up all night and pass a bill that says either Home Secretary have the power to remove this guy, or indeed anybody, because I've got rid of the people and
let's go back to Craig Guilford and let's, in a calm way, because of course this debate about two-tier policing and pressure on from certain demographics is one that you have to do properly, but there's no denying, and I repeat this most days, that I remember the rape gang crisis, the kids grooming crisis, right? Still one of the biggest disgraces and stains on our society. Still no date of when that's going to happen. I interviewed a police chief 3 years ago and I said, why has it taken 8 years? And he said, because we are concerned, or were, that if we'd gone quicker, we would have inflamed local communities. Craig Guilford was nominated by the local mosque in Birmingham. That is not a racist comment. Craig Guilford, has lied, his force has lied, and there is palpable proof to say that you have done that because, like Starmer doesn't want to upset the Muslim vote because he'd lose seats, the same applies. If you get, in my opinion, to a point where the bloody police in this country, the police, ladies and gentlemen, are not going to act in a certain way to dispel right and wrong in this instance, because of fear of repercussion, we're buggered. We're absolutely, excuse my language, we're buggered. It's absolutely outrageous. Outrageous.
You're completely right. I think it's really, really important that this is the home of free speech, that we call a spade here and we say what's actually going on here, right? So, and it was Nick Timothy, who is a Tory MP, who uncovered all of this because I think he's an Aston Villa fan. He's from Birmingham originally.
Have we got a clip of Nick Timothy? Should we just play this, actually? This is him on Islamist pressure. Now, this is a debate, before you play it, that a lot of people feel very strongly about. The one thing I've always said to you is, and I say it to Labour every day, they won't come on, I'll take all sides, but I want a police force that actually polices in this country, not on somebody's religion, creed or colour, but on the fact that if they break the law, they should be arrested. Nick Timothy, have a watch.
The police fabricated intelligence to get Israelis banned from Villa Park, as demanded by Islamists. It's not an isolated case. Forces cut deals with dodgy mosques and refuse to arrest preachers who incite violence. The CPS uses the Public Order Act as an Islamic blasphemy law. In prison, governors do deals with Islamists to maintain order, and we all know about the rape gangs. So will the Prime Minister launch a review of the corruption of our criminal justice system by Islamists and the politics of communalism?
Prime Minister. I disagreed, as he knows, with the decision of the West Midlands Police.
Coward. What a coward.
He is a coward.
Starmer.
He is a coward.
So again, let's be even clear here, because Nick Timothy was under even more time pressure in asking that question. What happened here is the West Midlands Police Force discovered intelligence that a self-appointed group, an unofficial group, you call it a militia, whatever you want to call it, of Muslim people realised, it's Muslim men, isn't it, realised that there was this football match coming along and a bunch of Israeli Jewish fans would be coming along. They don't like that, because of deep-seated anti-Semitism and because of what's going on in Gaza, all the rest of it. Doesn't matter, no excuse. And they planned to arm themselves with whatever weapons they could to go and commit violence against those fans should they be coming. That's a pogrom. You've seen that throughout history of groups arming themselves to kill and attack Jews. That was what they were planning to do on the streets of Britain in 2025. And the West Midlands Police found out about this. Good intelligence work.
Well done.
So what ought you do in that situation? You tool up, you call in mutual aid from other police forces, you bring out the army, you arrest those people, and as far as I'm concerned, if you're planning on arming yourselves into a militia, you never see the light of day ever again. Imagine how much better Birmingham would be without any of those scumbags on the streets.
And jumping in, what West Midlands Police did was the complete opposite.
Exactly
they fabricated lies by AI to actually say we're going to cancel the game because they didn't have the cojones to stand up to the local community.
Right, and to blame the Jews for all of this. And the reason they did that was because they knew it would be very difficult. There'd be massive rioting, there'd be loads of tensions. They might not have the resources. They might have to ask the army or other police forces to come in and do this. And unfortunately, this is what we've seen as a shift in policing in some recent years. And they'll say that it's a resourcing issue. I think it's just a timidity about the threat of violence. So you
Anna Insari says, why hasn't Starmer stepped in and sacked an anti-Semitic police chief who's lied to the British public?
Right.
Now, you can make of this what you want, team. I'd love to hear from you. Your voice notes 0344 499 1000 and your text 87222. I've always tried to do this job correctly. This country is based on all sorts of people of all creeds and colours who have been fantastic. But we cannot get away from the fact that when our police force is sort of around the edges, not sure how to act for fear of upsetting certain people. That is a fact, and that is a very, very worrying thing. I mean, look, morning, Jess. Phil Grayson, I'm a police trainer, and rule one is without fear or favour. Enough said. Great show, thank you very much indeed. John says, in Carmarthen, we live in clown Britain run by a clown government. I never thought I'd call the police clowns. Paul's in crew. If Guildford is sacked, does that mean his severance package is better than if he were to resign and walk away? Only thing I can think of why he is hanging on. Aston Villa, Jason in Worthing, all over the UK, alarm clock Bruce. Aston Villa should also be held to account regarding Maccabi Tel Aviv, as they could have easily said that they refused to play the game. They would have then put the police under pressure. They are complicit in being anti-Semitic. This is politicising our police, and I cannot believe this. Finally, Darryl in Batwood. Morning, Jess. I don't know why Craig Guildford is hanging on to his job as Chief Constable, as he has his next role as a community leader to fall back on. I mean, we laugh, and people will say, are you being deliberately anti-certain? No, I'm not. I'm saying you break the law, you should be in trouble. You can't call to arms.
And and there's one other thing here, that these people who we have, apparently the police have intelligence about, were planning to arm themselves to go and commit a pogrom.
Wow.
They are still at liberty, right?
Yep.
We still know who these people are. Because they didn't get quite to the stage of actually being out on the streets with weapons, it's more difficult to arrest them and all the rest of it, which is what we should be able to do. And I just want to say, we talked about Nadim Zahawi before on Monday, and in his speech he talked about Islamism, political Islam extremism, as the main reason why he defected, because Nigel Farage said that he is the one person who'd banned the Muslim Brotherhood. And Nadeem made the point that it may be the biggest victims of these Islamists are the millions of patriotic British Muslims in this country. And he also said it may also be the Jewish community, as we've seen. We've all forgotten the fact that a couple of people were murdered up in Manchester for the crime of being Jewish. But these Islamists have the rest of the country every bit as much in their sights as well. Everybody else listening, if you're not a Muslim, not a Jew, doesn't matter. These people hate you, they hate us, they hate our way of life, they hate our civilization, and they need to be stopped before their numbers grow. And everybody is a victim in this country of these people.
And I think that is let me know, peeps, right? I think that is a very balanced and honest opinion and description of what's going on in the West Midlands Police Force. You can read the headline, shameless, should he hold on to his job? There's deeper connotations to what's going on. Listen, loads and loads of you responding. Thank you for your text. Keep those voice notes going. And don't forget, on National Pothole Day, Samara Gill will be up to her knees in a hole. That doesn't sound right, but she will, somewhere in the United Kingdom. And Keir Starmer yesterday, to release the tension, told a joke about the Kama Sutra. And we thought, do you know what, amongst all this misery, what's your favourite dad joke? Morning, Tommy.
Morning, JK. Tom from East Sussex here. What do you call a man with no shins? Tony.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Do you know what I love about this show? Amongst all the seriousness of, anti-Semitism, of taking away our democratic rights, you can just throw something out there that you need, don't you? Because it's so depressing what we wake up to. And the dad jokes are flowing in. Morning, Don.
Morning, Jeremy. Don in South Wales. How does a train eat? It choo-choos.
Good. Nice.
This is my favourite, though, so far. This caused even Big M, who pushes the buttons and has his hair cut by the council. This caused even him to grin. Terry in Slough says, what's the worst thing about eating a clock, James Price?
Passing time. There it is.
I can't believe you gave me the
I've
answer.
ruined it.
Try passing a clock. That's quite painful. 18 minutes to 7 o'clock. Loads of you. Morning, Jess. Snake Charmer Starmer always manages to wheel out ministers to defend the U-turns. And they do so after days before they endorse his ridiculous policies. They actually look offended when questioned about U-turns. This is a great one. Dave, good morning to you, sir. I don't know where you are. Colin, he says, he talks about disgraced politicians in the Tories. Where do you want me to start, says Dave? Angela Rayner, Tulip Siddiq, Louise Haig, the guy who punched his constituent, the one who threw his tenants, Kettle calling the pot black. Thank God for Breakfast Club, says Dave in Colin. It's true, isn't it?
Absolutely right. And it does raise the sad question that politics either attracts wrong-uns, turns people into wrong-uns, or everyone's a wrong-un, and in politics you get caught because there's more scrutiny.
Couldn't agree more. Ben's in London. He says, good morning, Jez and James. Surely with the cancellation of these elections, the British people have the right to withhold all their taxes. No votes, no taxes. I'm not getting involved in that. Let's say good morning to Jane. Jane, good morning.
Hi, JK. On the Labour cancelling the votes, why don't all these people stop paying the council tax? If the councils are readjusting themselves, who do we know who to pay the council tax to?
I mean, listen, I can't and won't condone that. I remember more than anybody that one of Labour's promises was no rise on income, council tax. That was a complete lie as well.
Absolutely right.
I've long thought, actually, in the last few months, that and I always repeat this text that I got, the silent majority have awoken in this country. And I think there's a way to have these debates. I don't believe the way to have these debates, like the one about the West Midlands, is to be in any way racist. I don't think the way to have the debate about having your democratic rights taken is to talk about doing anything undemocratic. One has to keep to the right way. But there is, JP, massive frustration on so many levels in this country, and it is totally understandable, isn't it?
It really is. And this is why politics really matters. People who think that it's all just, argy-bargy in Prime Minister's questions or whatever. If people feel that they are unable to look after themselves or to keep safe, if they're unable to put food on their families' tables, if they're unable to get about their lives and exercise their rights, they will, and they think that the government and the state more broadly is unable to do that, or worse, the state loses its legitimacy, they will start to consider taking matters into their own hands. That's not a threat, right? That's a lamentation. That's a terrible situation. Was it Crowborough where people are so concerned about the illegal migrant hotels coming in that they've started to organise sort of watch gangs wandering around? And again, that's perfectly fine legal for people to wander around and watch out for things. That's a great thing. But if those sorts of things start to then tip over because you've got loads of, illegal migrants wandering around looking for kids and all the rest of the horrible things they've been accused of, then that is a terrible thing for our country, because the costs of things then go up if people don't think that you are a legitimate government. The beautiful thing about legitimacy is not just that it is a philosophically true thing to say, OK, well, I voted for you and therefore I give you rights and all these things. It has a practical implication as well. If you think that you belong to a society, to a community, you are less likely to litter because you feel connected to your fellow man, and therefore you don't need to pay for the litter man.
Respect.
And that builds up into every other aspect of life as well. You don't mind paying for the NHS and for education because you feel there is a give and take in all of life. And when you start taking the mick, as this government is doing by taking rights away, very, very dark days could lie ahead.
I couldn't agree more. You weren't here on possibly, every day sort of moulds into another. We had one day this week, Keir Starmer threatened to cancel X, which all of us, Grok AI, totally wrong. Glad that X have done something about that. But it begged the bigger question. Are they trying to now take away our freedom of speech? What about other platforms? And the irony for me was that on the day he said that, he also said that he was launching an app on TikTok to stop spreading misinformation about migrants. Well, good morning, peeps. Guess what it says on page 20 of the Mail? App funded by the Home Office turns out to be a pull factor for immigrants. A Home Office-funded app is helping Channel migrants find work in the UK after arriving illegally. Just Good Work, which was developed partly by Migrant Help, a charity that got 385 million quid from you, the British taxpayer, is helping asylum seekers search for jobs. It basically says, ready for this? It creates a pull factor by promoting incentives, with the mobile app telling users the UK is a beautiful country with great transport links for easy national and international travel. Come to England. Sorry, let me get this right. Sorry, I'm still having one of those moments and Christian's going to say, you're right. We're going to work and paying our taxes for services that we can't now have because there's so many people coming in illegally that are trampling all over our rights. We've got a government that won't let us vote, is anti-Jewish, and now I'm paying tax to pay for an app that says to people who shouldn't be here, this is the bloody way to get here. Mate, I don't want to be like this anymore. This is beyond ridiculous.
Absolutely right. Look, where to even begin with some of this stuff? I think we have to realise that all these sorts of charities are staffed by mad ideologues. Yeah. Worse than it, mad ideologues who have been brainwashed into thinking that the best possible thing that the United Kingdom needs, right? Everyone close your eyes for a second, unless you're driving when you're listening to this.
Yes,
and
good idea if you drive.
Imagine England's green and pleasant land.
I can't remember that because there's wind farms everywhere.
And all the rest of it. And now imagine the mindset that says what we need to have is hundreds of thousands of illegal third world migrants coming into it as what is needed to improve it. But that's what these people think. The good news, because we should be constructive as well, and this will annoy people even more, as you say, this is our own money that's being spent on this.
Yes, on the app.
So all we need to do in many, many of these cases is just say no more. is just say, we're not spending our hard-earned money that could be being spent on potholes, as I'm sure we'll hear about in a minute, that we can spend on cancer drugs, on, I don't know, educating our kids, or paying for soldiers to defend us against the Russians,
or paying off our debt,
or
so that we're all better off.
There's huge amounts of money being spent on this stuff, not just being wasted, because huge amounts of that as well, but stuff that is actively working against our own interest. Imagine if we just stopped all of that, and these freaks had to go and get real jobs. They might not even end up being quite so left-wing.
And I couldn't describe it better than the legend that is JP just did. So if you are waking up this morning, 4 million of you won't be able to vote, right? This is brilliant. The West Midlands Police, I think, highlights a problem the police have got across the UK, which is in the pocket of certain demographics because the police are too scared, right? This is true. And yet we've got a Prime Minister who
you got to laugh, right?
For 400 million an app that says to illegal migrants, please come in. Meanwhile, he's got his fingers in his ears because he's done something else today. I can't take this anymore, Christian. I'm going to need therapy. Whilst all of this noise is going on, Keir Starmer and the acolytes at Labour HQ have launched a new TV ad. Please, wherever you are, enjoy.
While Britain struggled, some politicians have tried to exploit your problems, not to solve them. Politicians who tell you that Britain is broken and who want to talk this great country down. But when things start to get better, when we choose renewal, not grievance, show that our problems can be solved and that the future is in our control, then the real Britain can shine through. A Britain that has always weathered the storms of history, stuck to its decent, compassionate, tolerant values, and above all, a Britain that is confident that if we unlock the potential of every single person and every single community, then the future belongs to us. This year, in every corner of this country, that is what Labour is building. So let's renew Britain together.
Honestly, he couldn't sound less enthusiastic and less inspirational. I'd be more inspired by, I don't know, having a poo. Can I just pull some stuff out of that? When are you going to renew Britain? Renewal, not grievance. Renewal of what? And he talks about we're going to give you our control. What? By not allowing us to vote. And then he talks about real Britain. But most of all, I'm slightly worried by that. I do think we should perhaps phone up the Labour Party. There's two things. They showed the white cliffs of Dover. Is that not racist in any way? I think. But also what worried me is they showed a shopkeeper opening his till. And there was nobody there with a sawn-off shotgun trying to nick his money. I don't think Starmer has honestly got a clue. I'm going to have to go to an ad break. Is that all right? We'll
compose ourselves.
Just sum him up. How bad is he?
I mean, there are no words. It is because he's so empty. And this is what we talk about all the U-turns from earlier on. This is because he and his team, they don't believe in anything. They don't understand anything about the country. They are about as deep as some of the potholes that we're going to talk about.
I love what
They have got no idea about how the real world works. They've never lived in it at all. And I just think that this kind of stuff is about as far genuinely as their thinking can go. If he were to write a book, it would all just be this. It's a great country because of tolerance and values. He doesn't know what any of that stuff actually means.
The country's skint and it's screwed and it's running on empty and people are frustrated. This is a great thing. Very quickly, Neil says, Jez, as you will have read, there's a chance that King Charles might go to the Invictus Games next year. Given that West Midlands Police couldn't guarantee the safety of a few Israeli football fans due to the Islamic threat, then do we really think our monarch should go? Morning, Andy.
Morning, Jez. Andy from Birmingham. About this Chief Constable of Birmingham. It's an absolute disgrace that he's hanging on in there. There's obviously something going on, but it just goes to prove now, really, that there is a two-tier police towards a certain community. It's all been proved, hasn't it, over the last, 12 months. How many more Craig Guilfords are there in the police who are being protected? It's just really scary, buddy. Anyway, have a good one.
have one comment to make to our dear Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. You made a comment saying that calling the IRGC a terrorist is futile. I have been living on the run for the past 3 years. I am breaking my silence here right now. A British person becoming a refugee in America because the United Kingdom cannot assure my safety because of IRGC. That statement, sir, Keir Starmer, you should be ashamed of yourself. IRGC is a terrorist organization.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Breakfast, JK. You lot are on it this morning. Breaking news. West Midlands Fire Service have just been called to Craig Guilford's house. Apparently it's because his pants are on fire. That's Donna in Birmingham. I like that. Steve in Sussex. Bit hypocritical of Starling sacks the police chief for lying to the British public. That would be pot calling the kettle... Well, let's not be racist. And Mark in Selby says, Jez was in a bar with a chum yesterday, saw him chatting up a cheater. I went, oh, are you trying to put a fast one?
Hey.
See what happened. Morning, Kitty.
Jezza and Alarm Clock Britain, Kitty from Kent here. I have a dad joke. So what do you call a magic dog? It's a Labracadabrador.
A Labracadabra. That's a beautiful. Right, very quickly before you go, because this man's got to move house and do all the work, Mrs. P, that wasn't done. Just dropping that in. In the Sun, page 8 and 9, great article by Martina Bett, one of our political correspondents. Sweeping curbs to protect kids. Insta ban. The PM leaning towards a block on social media. We had the X thing, quite rightly the Grok thing, but I've always thought. And that if you're going to... high tech, big tech, whatever you want to call it, does need to take more responsibility for some of the complete and utter vile stuff that's online. But you can't just be selective, can you?
Yeah, I mean, I try never to actually be nuanced if I can possibly help it. Yep. But I think it does warrant it in this situation. The difficulty is about whether you want the state to do this. And we've spent the last hour talking about how bad the state is at governing, at letting us have elections, at having a decent economy and all the rest of it every time it touches anything, and wanting parents to be able to have the rights over these things. But when parents do fail, then the state does need to step in. We know that in really egregious, really awful cases. When it comes to phones, the technology is so far ahead of the law or any of our actual social norms. No one likes it when you see kids just sat playing on their phones. We know it must be having some kind of effect on them, and the research is starting to come in just how much it can mess up their development and all the rest of it.
Can I jump in? I'm not trying to... We haven't got long, but so my Oliver's 6, right? And I freely admit, like most parents, that we probably allow it too often. We try and control it. I'm in the car the other day, 6 tomorrow. He goes, you know, Julian at school's my arch nemesis. And I went, no, I'm being serious. You laugh. And I went, where did you learn that from? He went, YouTube. Right. And so you think, Christ, as a parent, I think parents take more responsibility. I think that's absolutely right. But Starmer's stuck between, I don't know. I mean, it is tough. But look, you mentioned YouTube. I think YouTube Kids or whatever, it can be an amazing thing. Yeah. And, you know, if you're actually watching a video of some decent length and it's been well curated, I think the thing with TikTok, not only, again, is it owned by our old friends, the Chinese Communist Party, and it's like a super weapon trained at our kids' brains to mess up their development. The more you watch TikTok, the more positive opinion you have of the CCP, absolutely. By the way. Yeah, that's true. That is really corrosive. And I think Snap is the other one, because all this stuff can disappear, the number of kind of sex crimes and things that can happen on there. So do you think there's a big difference? If you're just chatting with your mates, that's fine. If you're learning stuff, great. But you can't just let these things run rampant, because they are being designed to be even more addictive than crack. And I think that's a dangerous thing. Couldn't agree more. Can we wish you luck with the move? He's a top man. We love having him on the show. James Pice will be back very soon. Thank you so much indeed. I hope it all goes well. You're in charge of the move, right? Well, I packed a week and a half ago. Mrs. P, who I think is probably still asleep, so we're all right, hasn't. And so I'm feeling a bit poorly. I'm going to have an early night tonight, so I'm going to go home and pack up all of her stuff as well. See what happens? Yeah, see, that's what you need, organisation. We wish you the best. We love you loads. Thank you very much indeed. Right, we're approaching 7 o'clock. You're waking up to the following news on Talk Breakfast. 4 million of us will be denied a vote in May, because Starmer is basically saying 27 council elections, I'm reorganising it, you can't vote. To me, That is totally undemocratic. And in the West Midlands, the anti-Semitic lying West Midlands Constable, Chief Constable Craig Guilford, still in a job. He's not going to resign. The police commissioner, who's a Corbyn fan, isn't going to sack him. I believe the government should. If the police's ability to police is being compromised by local communities, we are in trouble. 87222. Start your message with the word talk on National Pothole Day. The news at 7 is next.
It's one of the biggest sporting spectacles on planet Earth, Super Bowl 60, and you could be there. Enter now at talk.tv/win for the chance to score a fantastic 4-day trip for two to the City by the Bay, San Francisco, including tickets to Super Bowl 60 and $2.5 grand in cold hard cash. It's Hail Marys and money. Enter now at talk.tv/win and get set for a gilt-edged trip to the Golden State you'll never forget. For your chance to win, text TALK to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343-418-7260. Lines close 22nd January 2026, 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talksport.com. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Morning, gang. Thursday, 15th of January, we're live across the United Kingdom on the home of free speech and common sense. It's where alarm clock Brits come to have their say. So much to talk about today, but I should break some news. Just as we come out of the 7 o'clock news, the Office for National Statistics have just said that GDP grew by 0.3% in November. If you're in your van or in your car or trying to get the kids to school or the breakfast table, you're trying to empty the dishwasher or just generally get your arse in gear, I'm sure that doesn't mean a lot, because it doesn't mean a lot to me. But we'll talk more about that, no doubt, this hour. But breaking news, GDP growing by 0.3% in November. No doubt our Prime Minister will jump on that and say, this is fantastic news. Britain's great. Is it? We're waking up to many news stories. Several concern me enormously. One, front of the Telegraph. 4 million of us denied the right to vote. 27 council elections in May are going to be cancelled by this Labour government because the Prime Minister says, I want to restructure the Tories and Reform, saying he's running scared, he knows he's in trouble. What do you make of that? Surely that's taking away your liberty, isn't it? Taking away your right to vote. That's the whole basis of our democracy. 0344 499 1000. The other story dominating front of the Mail. Disgusting. Cannot have this. Shameless. A scathing report condemns the West Midlands Police lies. This is all about Craig Guilford, still in power, still the Chief Constable, can't be sacked by the Home Secretary. The Police and Crime Commissioner's the only one, and he doesn't want to have a chat about it for a month. He's a Corbyn fan. This guy, who runs the West Midlands Police, lied blatantly to Parliament, to the MPs, to stop Israeli Jewish fans coming to a football match in the Midlands under pressure, fact here, nothing else, from local community leaders. Utterly disgraceful. Shabana Mahmood stood up yesterday and said, there's nothing I can do, but I've got no confidence in him. Here's an interesting one, says Bill in Cheshire. Read the police chief. If Mahmood can't get rid of him, why can't she put the entire force into special measures? Very interesting point. Loads of you wanting to respond to this. Loads and loads and loads. Keep those coming in. We're going to say good morning to Sean. Morning, Shawnee.
Morning, Jeremy. Sean from Grimsby. When I was driving home yesterday and I listened to PMQs and I heard the Prime Minister mention the Kama Sutra, I almost vexed in my cab and swerved onto incoming traffic. The thought of the Prime Minister naked does not really do it for me.
Can I just point out that as long as I'm sat here, right, we have to give all the Office for National Statistics and you can't vote and you got no money. But it's also important, I think, somehow, to try and have a bit of a laugh, because if not, we're all just going to end up feeling miserable. Yesterday, Keir Starmer thought, I'm so up against a wall, I'm going to make a joke about the Kama Sutra. This is, again, just landed like a lame duck. Have a listen. This is our Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, on consistency, don't get me started on 5 Prime Ministers, 6 Chancellors, 8 Home Secretaries, 16 Housing Ministers. They had more positions in 14 years than the Kama Sutra. No wonder they're knackered and they left the country screwed.
Which got me thinking, because that went down like a cup of cold sick. Dad jokes. Let's have a bit of a laugh on National Pothole Day. If you've got a dad joke, we've got a prize. I don't know what it is. 87222, my favourite so far. You'll love this. Ready, Big M? I went to the doctors the other day. I said, have you got anything for wind? And he gave me a bloody kite. Brilliant. 6 minutes past 7. We'll say a very good morning to a very important man. Broadcaster, historian, fellow at the New Culture Forum. A man who wouldn't lower himself to tell a dad joke. Rafe Heidelmanku. A very good morning, sir. How are you?
Always a pleasure, Jeremy.
You haven't got a dad joke, have you, Rafe?
I'm full of dad jokes, actually. I'm the worst culprit when it comes to joke. So it's about how you tell them, though, as Frank Carson once said, and I am afraid Keir Starmer can't tell him.
No, he can't tell him. He can't do much. Rafe, welcome to the show. Great to have you on. 2 really big stories today, some others as well, but 4 million of us to be denied a vote in, I mean, what can only be described, this, 27 councils will be banned from holding elections in May. He talks about reorganising. He talks about, there's no point in somebody being elected to serve for just a matter of months. We all know this is nothing short of him panicking because he will lose hundreds of seats. But more than that, Rafe, this is absolutely an attack on our democratic rights, isn't it?
Perfectly put. It used to be the case that only dictators cancelled elections. So you have to ask, what does that make Keir Starmer and the rest of the Labour Party? Because how can they stand on the world stage? And Starmer loves to pontificate and lecture others. So how can he lecture other nations on the importance of democracy when they're using obscure loopholes, just to deny British citizens their right to vote? Democracy can never be cancelled because a government is somehow fearful of the verdict of its own people. And of course, there's also madness to give this authority to local councils. It's local councils deciding whether or not they're going to hold local elections. I mean, talk about giving turkeys the right to vote for Christmas. I mean, of course they're not going to vote for that when they know that it's probably a shoo-in that they're going to be turfed right out of office. Let's be clear here. This is the introduction of third world politics into Britain. And of course, it follows on just from a couple of years ago when you had whistleblowers like Raja Mihar, who was investigating the rape gangs, revealing how Labour politicians, Labour council figures in the north of England turned a blind eye to the industrial-scale rape of young Pakistani gangs in exchange for receiving large numbers of postal votes harvested by those gangs and community leaders. This is the sort of politics we associated with the 19th century rotten boroughs of England.
Yeah.
And it's alive and well in 21st century Britain, primarily in Labour strongholds.
It really does, you know, I think when you do a show like this every day like we do, you don't want to ever get to a point where things are trivialised. To take away the democratic right, it's a bit like the appalling story about the jury trials. And can I salute at this point the only Labour MP who I have great respect for, who is Carl Turner, he's a legal guy who's so cheesed off with this plan by Lammy and Starmer to remove jury trials that he's threatened to call a by-election, reform well ahead in his constituency. And fair play to Carl Turner, but you're saying now you can't vote. When you get tried, we're gonna make sure it could be a judge with any leaning. We're going to take away your right to be part of a jury. As you say, 2026, and you look at it, you step back and you go, what is seriously going on here? How were we hoodwinked? And of course, Rafe, you know this. If you do it in the wrong way, you talk about it too much, people will say, oh, that's conspiratorial. It's not. It's fact. We're being denied the vote. We've got a police force we'll talk about, I think, all over this country who are being compromised for the wrong reasons. And when you look at it, it's I never thought Britain would get to this point, did you?
No. I mean, I said yesterday in relation to another case, this Dutch lady who's been banned from entering the country, whilst, of course, we're welcoming illegal migrants into this country and giving extremist British citizenship, we're inching towards a police state. You know, we have two-tier justice in clear effect. We have two-tier policing clearly there. We've got to clamp down on free speech, which is absolutely chilling. You know, Britain is the birthplace of free speech, and it pains my heart that the Americans who adopted English free speech have that entrenched in their constitution, and they're looking back to the motherland with bewilderment. And yet, despite all of these attacks on our freedoms, Starmer and Labour still pretend that they are somehow morally superior to their opponents. You know, I mean, the level of hubris here, the sort of hypocrisy and arrogance is absolutely quite breathtaking. It took us a long, hard struggle to achieve the freedoms and the liberties we enjoy today. And people need to remember because how long that struggle was, because once those things go, it's very hard to get them back. And it's this very subtle, gradual erosion that is the biggest threat, because in this country, we've never lost our freedoms. Nope. You try any of these things in Poland, in Hungary, in Bulgaria, countries that were behind the Iron Curtain, where within living memory, they lost those things. They would be out in the streets protesting were this to happen there. Unfortunately, here we've taken these things for granted for far too long.
I think that's absolutely right. And I'm also, I said it last hour, I'll say it every hour, I do believe the text that I was sent weeks ago about the silent majority. I do believe that interestingly, I thought the British public for a long time was switched off from politics, Rafe, you know, in terms of the expense account and just not really interested. But I think there is a real sense in this country of unfairness. I think that's a really important word, fairness. I think people are, you know, whereas they were being told, oh, that's outrageous, I think people can now stand and say, let me get this right. I go to work, I pay my taxes, I bring my kids up as best I can. I'm sure they're on the iPad too often, but I do my best and I don't break the law. And actually, I really feel like I'm being just put right at the back of any queue that exists, not just with illegal migrants, with the fact that if I try and set up a business and be aspirational, I'm crushed by this government. If I run a corner shop, people can come and nick stuff that I've worked all my life for, and the police will do absolutely nothing about it, that I'm supposed to fund through greater and greater tax, things that I don't benefit from. And I think that, whenever you say that, Rafe, people go, what are you saying? I'm saying anything. I'm saying I think the British people, and I want to use a phrase I can't, are increasingly hacked off. Increasingly hacked off.
Yeah, well, I'm reminded of the line from G.K. Chesterton, for we are the people of England that have not spoken yet. The British people are finding their voice because, as you say, if there's one thing that is fundamentally un-British, it is lack of fair play. And it's basically having people who are doing the right thing who seem to get penalised the most. That sticks in the craw of the British people. It is unjust. what's even more unjust, of course, are the jury trials or things like that. But the burden, people doing the decent thing, people who wake up to the alarm clock and they see people on benefits earning more than they are, getting hammered if they're working in hospitality or in any startup or as a self-employed business. Your viewers and your listeners in their car today will know exactly what we're talking about. It stretches all the way from you, Les, all the way through. Every aspect of our life seemingly is hard. Life is a struggle. And it shouldn't be a struggle for people who have done the right things for all their lives.
I couldn't put that any better. I've got some breaking news, and then we'll talk about that dreadful situation in the West Midlands. Ofwat, the regulator Ofwat, has just launched an investigation into South East Water after repeated outages left around 10,000 households, 8 here it says, but I thought it was yesterday, across Kent and Sussex without drinking water. We're not going to have the debate this morning, but some of these water companies that are paying billions of pounds seemingly to their chief executives and their shareholders, it's an utter disgrace. They should certainly be brought to bear. Let's talk about the other main news story, Rafe, if we can. And I'm going to try and control myself. On the one hand, I'm beyond angry about how undemocratic Keir Starmer is. Shameless. This is the story, Rafe. You know it well. I'm sure people who have heard it already will go whatever, but people tune in the whole time. So let's just say this. There was a football match destined for Aston Villa in the West Midlands between Maccabi Tel Aviv, an Israeli team, and Aston Villa. The police announced a couple of weeks before the match that taking advice from local community leaders, it would be best if Maccabi Tel Aviv Jewish Israeli fans didn't come. Cue lots of people digging and finding videos from Muslim. There was one particular one we paid with, as bad as that bloke in Glastonbury, very outspoken. And then it came to pass that this guy, this chief constable who's on screen now, Craig Guilford, was summoned before MPs and that he lied. Yesterday it transpires that his force used AI, right, to make up a football match that didn't exist, where he could point at crowd trouble to ban, in an anti-Semitic way, these fans. We all screamed yesterday, sack him. The Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, stands up and says, I can't. I've got no confidence in him. Well, you are the Home Secretary. You could have voted on it. We then have the Police and Crime Commissioner, it's my favourite, saying, yeah, I'll talk about it at the end of the month. He's a Corbyn fan. Most of all, I love this from the Labour MP, Ayub Khan. He says that this poor man is being thrown under a bus. This is the Labour MP Ayub Khan, ladies and gentlemen.
This is truly a sad day for British politics, and despite all the rhetoric we have in this House, Brummies know the truth, that this is nothing but a witch hunt, and the Chief Constable is being thrown under the bus. The Home Secretary knows all too well that West Midlands Police have a reputation for working with all communities.
I'll just leave this to you, Rafe, because my mouth might as well be 8 feet from my jawline. I can't even. This is anti-Semitic. It is fundamentally, in my mind, a police force who are in the pocket of a certain demographic. And if it gets worse in this country, it is going to cause trouble. That is not anti-anybody or racist. That is factual, isn't it?
It's absolutely correct. I couldn't have put it better myself. West Midlands Police is neck and neck with West Yorkshire Police for the worst police force in the country. Both of them have taken the knee to radical Islam. I'd like to say this is, this is an aberration. It's not. West Midlands Police in 2024, you'll remember, during the riots there following Southport, you had Muslim armed vigilantes with weapons and in full sort of military gear roaming the streets. And the police said they weren't going to take any action, and they expected the communities to police themselves. Can you imagine them going to the white areas of Southport, saying, don't worry, they can police themselves? Or you can give your weapons into your local mosque. Imagine. This is the state of affairs in Britain right now. It absolutely stinks to high heaven. West Yorkshire Police, West Midlands Police, they've all taken the knee to radical Islam. And what happened to those days when people took accountability? People have lost trust in our institutions because they see them as being corrupt. They see them as being two-tiered. There was a time when something like this, and this is not just Labour and the police, it's happened under Boris Johnson as well. Ministers, police, constables, no one takes responsibility or accountability. This wouldn't have happened 15 years ago. They would have been out on their neck. And let's be clear here, who are these community leaders? Right? There's no transparency here as to who's been consulted. Sounds to me that the community leaders Craig Guilford's consulted, they probably all have hooks for hands, it sounds like, because he's gone to the very worst elements of this society. Now we found out that Craig Guilford was interviewed by a panel when he got his job. One of the panelists was a member of one of the major mosques in the area. Why is somebody from a mosque on an interview panel looking into whether or not West Midlands, who should be running West Midlands Police? This stinks to high heaven, and it is going to result in a situation where you get a backlash. I mean, you know, there's a Professor David Betts who said that Britain is heading for civil unrest. And it's not going to be a civil war in the same sense that you think of it in America, but it's much closer to Northern Ireland sectarianism, if you remember, where you had Catholics versus Protestants attacking each other and the military in between. And if these things are left to go unchecked, and if this sort of disgraceful behavior carries on, you will get something like that in this country between radical Islam on one side, which is already well developed. They've got their own militias, they can carry out attacks and so forth, and the small but growing white identity movement, which is still in its infancy, take about 10 or 20 years to get up to the same levels as radical Islam. But that's a very real threat for our inner cities, to have those two forces going at hammer and tongs with the British Army in between. We don't want to see that. I never expected I would see such a situation.
And me neither. And I, you know, for all the criticism of me, I just want a police force that polices the difference between right and wrong, okay? I don't want this debate to be every single Muslim or every single white person is this, that or the other. There are many, many, many hundreds of thousands of Muslims in this country that have brought great things to this nation. Their silence worries me, I won't lie. But we have to be honest about this. And I said it earlier, Rafe, that the Rotherham rape gangs is one of the biggest stains on our society. When that police chief told me it took them 8 years because they didn't want to upset a certain demographic or race or creed or religion, that is an abdication in my mind of what the police are supposed to do. Brian in Worthing's got a question for you. Could you ask Rafe why the police are so-called politicians, the civil servants, and it seems to me just about everyone else seems so scared at this moment of Muslim communities? That for you, Rafe, from Brian.
Yeah, well, they're petrified by political correctness, and they, I think, understand what an absolute disaster mass immigration has been. I call it the greatest acts of harm in British history, worse even than the cost of fighting the Second World War. And they know, essentially, that they may not be able to handle. And as you say, the majority of Muslims in this country are well-adjusted and integrated. That's to be celebrated. But remember this, you know, there are 40,000 Muslims on the MI5 terror watch list. And there are around 4 million Muslims in the country, which means essentially that 1 in 100 Muslims is on the terror watch list. We know from polling that 9%, still a minority, but 9% of British Muslims identify as jihadis, support terrorism or extremism. That's around 350 to 400,000 people on the streets. It's about half the size of the standing full-time regular British Army. And the Muslim population is only going to increase. It's forecast to go increase.
What's the answer, Rafe? Briefly, what is the answer? Is it?
You have to show. Firstly, you have to show no fear or favour. You have to understand that British laws apply equally to everybody, and everyone will face the full force of the law. That there will be no taking of the knee, and there will be a forceful response to any demonstrations of sectarianism or anti-Semitism, misogyny, homophobia. All these things have risen in recent years. That's how you do it. You do it through strength. You don't put your head in the sand now, because in 25 years, the situation is going to be a hell of a lot worse. You need to start right now to flex that muscle. In the same way, you know, you look at the police forces in Germany, in the Netherlands and elsewhere, they don't mind at all taking a heavy hand towards people who are being violent and aggressive on the streets. We need to do the same thing. I couldn't believe all the debate around having a water cannon and when Boris Johnson wanted to have it. What's wrong with having a water cannon to defend your streets? Remember the police forces that tackled those poor miners in the miners' strike. If we had that sort of strength of policing today on the streets, you wouldn't have Muslim and radicals on the streets, or Just Stop Oil or Extinction Rebellion on the streets.
Couldn't agree more. Love having you on, mate. We want you on regularly. We thank you. It's class in a glass. Rafe Heidelmanku, a very good morning. morning to you, and thank you so much indeed. To the break, your calls, your texts, important. Lash, good morning.
Morning, Jezza. Lash from Cambridge. What I don't understand is an armed militia in Birmingham can say they don't want any Jewish people in their area, and it's called cultural tensions. But if I demonstrate and say I don't want migrants in my area, then I get called a racist. Isn't that cultural tension? Because I'm feeling pretty flipping tense.
Is there not a moral duty, now that promise has been made, that Donald Trump acts?
It's this Groundhog Day. The Americans and the Brits have just helped in the massacre of maybe 100,000 people in Gaza.
Oh, for goodness
It's
sake.
a genocide.
It's
and
not
now
a genocide.
Do we want
Get
Fred
a
West?
dictionary, it's not a genocide.
Do we want Fred West as a social worker? Do we want somebody with that record to claim to be acting benignly in the interests of the Iranian people?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Morning, gang. 7:26. You're waking up to some, well, I don't know, we're everywhere, aren't we? Listen, 4 million of us will be denied the vote in May as Keir Starmer's government cancels 27 council elections, and the West Midlands police chief won't resign despite the fact we have definitive proof, as does the rest of the world, that he's an anti-Semite, he is a liar, and he's kowtowed down to a certain demographic. But he's still in a job because nobody's brave enough to sack him. 0344 499 1000. Let's go to Weston-super-Mare. Wow. John, good morning to my second favourite place in England. How are you?
Good morning, Jez. How you doing?
My mum and dad lived to the side of Weston-super-Mare, so I used to drive down there a lot. Good morning. What do you want to talk about, me old son?
So here we go. We've had 13 U-turns.
Yep.
We're going to be denied the vote.
Yep.
And we've got an immigration problem.
Yep.
I think the only thing that's come good out of this is Starmer's going to make the situation even worse, because everyone in the UK is going to be more frustrated if they deny us the vote in May. I think, when we go, when the vote, then we're allowed to do it, I think the whole of the UK will feel even worse, and we will vote more than them out. I think it's an absolute disgrace. I'm going to buy a new pen, hopefully in May, go down to my local elections, and I'm going to basically vote absolutely against it. I'm absolutely disgusted that they can even think about cancelling it.
It is interesting if you sort of pull back from it. I'm trying to without sort of blowing my head gasket. It's an unbelievable assault on our democracy. And as I keep saying, and I'm not trying to be anything other than straight with everybody, and I want you to disagree. If you disagree, phone the show. I don't have a problem. But to take away your right to vote, to take away your right to be judged in a court by 12 of your independent peers, to take away our belief that our police will, control, look after, manage our streets in a balanced way, you start stripping this stuff away and you think, hold on a minute, this is the very fabric of how we got to where we're supposed to be. John is Western-super-Mare. Thank you, my old son. Don't forget, by the way, National Pothole Day. Samara, SOS, send our Samara, will be up to her knees in a hole, a pothole, that is, at some point somewhere in the United Kingdom. And also, I don't know if you saw it, but yesterday Keir Starmer, trying to deflect from the fact that he was on his 13th U-turn, told a joke about how the Tory party had more positions than the Kama Sutra. His ability to tell a joke, you know. So we've just been saying as a bit of fun, if you've got a joke, if you've got a dad joke, send it to us, 87222. Keith in Oswald Street, how much does it cost to swim with sharks? An arm and a leg, fantastic. What's the least popular position in the Kama Sutra? The Keir Starmer. Can you imagine? Oh my God! Can you imagine there being a position that's called the Keir Starmer? Oh, by the way, says Phil in Chingford, as a motorist, I love bloody potholes, Jez, on National Pothole Day, as it keeps the left-wing loony microclag leg-shaved cyclist off the frog and toad. Do you know what? I hadn't thought of it that way because I actually hate cyclists more than you. I do. It infuriates me that I sit at traffic lights across this country and they can go through a red light. Honestly. They don't pay... You see, it started. They don't pay road tax, they don't have insurance, and they wear Lycra, and I don't like them. But I do like certain people who ride. Chris Evans is going to come and have a go at me in a minute. 7:30 0344 499 1000. So we had some really stunningly breaking news earlier. The Office for National Statistics, try not to yawn, says the GDP grew by 0.3% in November, which I'm guessing means good things. And we always cross now to a man who, well, let me put it, he's an economist, a Telegraph columnist, an author of When the Facts Change. But let's be honest, where he broadcasts from looks like a down-market brothel in Amsterdam. Liam Halligan, a very good morning. How are you, sir?
Good to see you, Jeremy. Thanks for that scintillating intro.
I'm just glad you're in your chair, son. That's the most important thing, that you're here today.
Got me orange juice.
Good man, well done. Thank you so much. What I love about having you on, Liam, is the ability to explain. Because let's be frank, right? We can throw out all this stuff, but to the average working man and woman in, alarm clock Britain, what does it mean that the GDP grew by 0.3% in November, in real terms for the men and women listening?
That's a month-on-month increase. It shows that the economy in November was a little bit more buoyant than we expected, a little bit more activity than we expected across the UK. But during the 3 months to November, I'm afraid the economy only grew by 0.1% compared to the same 3 months the previous year. These are not good growth numbers at all. The economy is sluggish. The economy is weighed down by a lot of tax. We are seeing a labour market that isn't picking up at all. Unemployment has gone up from 4.1% to 5.1% under this government since July 2024. And, we can feel it, can't we? On the high street, there isn't that much activity. We're hearing a lot about, the service sector, pubs and clubs having to pay higher business rates. There's too much tax in the economy, it seems to me. And so the economy is sluggish. These are not good growth numbers. And I think everybody can feel that the economy is still very much in second gear.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you touched upon the pubs. There was much said that, the government has faced a massive backlash, hasn't they, since she sort of cancelled business rate relief, certainly during the hospitality sector. And we were talking about pubs yesterday, and you can get into the wider ramifications of what do Labour think about pubs. But in terms of the business thing, just for you, what I cannot understand, unless it's complete incompetence, if a party comes to power saying they're going to commit to growth, if you then stifle massively what I think is the bedrock of growth, which is the small business, that grows and employs people and finds a marketplace, a product or whatever, and the money, filters back into the economy. But actually, I will get political, because for me, if you try and stymie business as they have done, that says they're anti-aspiration, and that's no way to create growth in a society, is it?
No, we do have a very big, what we call SME sector in the UK, small and medium-sized enterprises. Those small and medium-sized enterprises, less than 150 people working in a company, they're 2/3 of our jobs are in those companies. Over half of total GDP, over half of total business activity is in those companies. Those companies are really important local employers, particularly in towns across the UK, as opposed to bigger cities. And I'll get political too, because there's an ideological thing going on here. When Labour are faced with a weak public finances, because they're spending too much money on welfare benefits and high pay rises for their mates in the public sector trade unions, then they respond to that higher taxation, not by thinking, oh, we've got to grow the economy more so it generates more revenue. They'll respond to that higher spending by pushing up tax even more, because they, for them, the big state is like an end in itself.
Yeah.
That's what we're feeling. Shoppers' household budgets are stretched because taxation is too high. Businesses are stretched because taxation is too high. And Labour are only going to respond to weak public finances by putting up tax even more, which will make the public finances even weaker. And this is the problem that we've got. We actually need lower taxes, it seems to me. We need less regulation to get the economy moving. Just a couple of more headlines on these growth numbers. 0.1% growth during the 3 months to November overall. Construction, Jeremy, actually fell 1.1% during the 3 months to November compared to the previous year. Talk to builders. There's not a lot of work about, as there should be. And if the building sector isn't doing well, then that bodes badly for the rest of the economy.
I'm going to have to jump in. Liam, as ever, a pleasure. The orange juice, the neon sign, we love you, appreciate it very much. Economist and Telegraph columnist Liam Halligan, they're responding to the news that the Office for National Statistics, try not to yawn, Jez, says that GDP has grown by 0.3% in November. He's saying in real terms prices are still rising, energy costs are going through the roof, the high street seems to be dead on its backside. People aren't building, and it isn't what it is. 7:35. We're live across the UK. It is the Talk Breakfast Show, the home of common sense, the home of Alarm Clock Britain. Loads of you getting involved this morning. 87222. Nicola in Norfolk. Starmer's Kamasutra joke was cringeworthy and unbecoming of a British Prime Minister. What made it worse? It was so obviously typical of the left. Let's go live to London, where every morning the Conservative Party very kindly put somebody up for us. And they always have to stand in the cold and the wind. Andrew Bowie, former Energy Minister, is in his office. Honestly, man, why aren't you out south? What's going wrong?
I'm in Edinburgh, Jeremy. I apologise. I'm calling from Edinburgh today. It's no cold and no rain here.
Listen, Dame Priti Patel stood amongst the wind and the rain, Mel Stride and I'm just thinking about your career, Andrew. I'm just saying. Thank you for coming on today. I know you want to talk as a former energy minister about this ridiculous, energy bill that was going to soar under Miliband, but I can't avoid the two main news stories because they are so awful, I think, and so central to what the debate is today. We start with 4 million people, Andrew Bowie, are going to be denied the vote in May's local election. 27 councils, Keir Starmer says, need restructuring. We're not going to have it. Tories and Reform both up in arms. Let's be frank and call this what it is. This is an attack on our democracy, and this is a government that is running scared. That is not the country that I recognise, Andrew Bowie.
Jeremy, I completely agree. It's absolutely abhorrent. It's shocking, frankly, the lengths at which this government will go to avoid accountability. They are terrified of the electorate, with good reason, looking at the polls and given their record since they came into office less than 2 years ago. It's hard to believe that they've been in power less than 2 years, given all the decisions that they've made and the damage they've inflicted on this country in such a short period of time. But of course, wherever you reside across the United Kingdom, you should have the opportunity to have your say and cast your vote and determine the future of your local area, as these local elections would have allowed. And believe you me, if they could get away with it, I'm pretty sure the Labour government would be cancelling the Scottish parliamentary and Welsh Senate elections as well, because they just do not want to face the electorate and actually account for the decisions they've made as a government. These elections should be going ahead. People should have a right to have their say.
What does it say about going forward? I mean, I'm not into conspiracy at all. I make a point of jumping on it every day, but people are saying to me, does that mean that they could cancel the general election? I mean, it's an extraordinary state of affairs when a man who has completely lost control of his party, and can I just say, and this will make you laugh, even as a Scotsman, his approval rating is lower than Maduro's before he was whipped out of Venezuela by Donald Trump, for Christ's sake. I mean, we've had Liz Truss. This is the most unpopular Prime Minister in history.
It's quite incredible, and the speed at which his approval ratings have absolutely plummeted reflects really the decisions he's taken as Prime Minister in terms of cancelling the general election. If they could, I'm pretty sure they would. However, they would need to change the law to enable them to do that, and I can't see them managing to get that through the House of Commons. Even Labour backbenchers, I don't think, would be stupid enough to vote to postpone or cancel the next general election, which unfortunately is still probably 3 years away. I know we want to get rid of this government as soon as possible, but probably 3 years, and it can't come a day too soon.
I share your thoughts. I'm delighted on that. I'd love to know, as will my listeners, your view, the Tory party views on the other main news. Front page of the Mail. Andrew, I'm sure you've seen it. Shameless. I won't explain the story again because my listeners are bored of me going on about it. But I think this guy is an utter disgrace. I think he's an anti-Semite, and you will not convince me that a Home Secretary who can stand up in the Commons and say, I don't have confidence in him. I'd have sat Parliament all night, I'd have brought in special measures, and I'd have him, the liar, and that police and crime commissioner out of a job at 9 o'clock this morning. I think it is unbelievable to believe, increasingly, again, saying it in a balanced way, that our police, who should be basing their job on what's right and wrong, not on where you come from, the colour of your skin, or whether they're going to upset you, are being compromised by people as I mean, this guy, how on earth is he still in a job, Andrew Bowie?
It's baffling, staggering, frankly, that the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, doesn't seem to have the backbone, have the strength to actually do what she can do and get rid of, frankly, an incredible situation where this police chief from the West Midlands has blatantly lied to Parliament, has let down the community who he's supposed to be serving, and honestly, he should have been turfed out by 9 o'clock this morning. Jeremy, you're absolutely right. I don't understand why the Home Secretary is not acting on this. He is a disgrace to the uniform, frankly, and should be turfed out. And I think most people listening to this programme and most people across the country will be in violent agreement.
Completely agree. Let's talk your skill. You were a former energy minister. This is another one of my bugbears. I have to be so careful. One of the things that Sir Keir Starmer said when he was standing for election was that our energy bills would go down. I mean, he lied about council tax. He's lied about a lot, but he made a big thing about energy bills going down. Now, patently, we know that under Ed Miliband, I read some terrible figure the other day, trillions of pounds. Energy bills could soar by up to 1.8 billion, we're revealing this morning, under Miliband's latest wind power plans in his rush to net zero. Brilliant, ludicrous, ridiculous.
It's ludicrous, and it's completely unnecessary. You know, to pay £95 per kilowatt hour, which is what was agreed to yesterday, guaranteeing, a top price for wind power for the next 20 years. That's tying the British people into paying exorbitant costs to these energy companies, even when the wind isn't blowing. We'll be paying these companies when they have to turn off the turbines if the wind isn't blowing, or get this, if it's too windy, they're still going to be receiving this money as in comparison to gas, which is sitting at around £55 per megawatt hour. And it's completely unnecessary. The levies, the charges that people are paying on all of their energy bills, every single month they're seeing these things going up and up and up and up. Labour promised to cut energy bills by £300. We knew that was undeliverable, but like so many other things in that Labour manifesto, conveniently when they've gotten into office, they've just abandoned these pledges. This mad dash to clean power 2030, net zero 2050 is costing everybody in this country. Now,
can I ask you a question? Because you were the energy minister. I'm just a bloke that does this, but I've got a fair idea of, the Labour Party's land grab from farmers to build wind farms that don't create enough, so we import it, that costs more, and then we pay even more to store it or switch it off. It's bloody madness, right? Madness. We've got liquid gold, as Trump would say, under the North Sea. We've got a massive sea debt. One of the criticisms for the Tory party, and it's right I put it to you, is, it's all well and good to be saying this now. Could you not have done more? Should you not have started drilling in the North Sea? Should you not have looked at nuclear power and other energies over the 14 years you were in power, Andrew?
Well, on nuclear first, I was the very first nuclear minister in the UK's history, launched Greater Nuclear, started the program, the competition to build a small modular reactor, moved the order to build Sizewell C. So I'm very proud of our legacy when it comes to nuclear. On oil and gas, look, I'm an Aberdeenshire MP. I was born and brought up in the northeast of Scotland. I know how important the oil and gas industry is to Scotland and the UK's economy, and indeed to all of our energy security. It is, as Donald Trump would say, liquid gold. There are decades worth of barrels of oil and gas underneath the North Sea right now that are being deliberately ignored. We are seeing an artificial and accelerated decline driven by ideology over practicality. We are seeing job losses in the thousands every month in the North Sea, and we are importing more gas into this country than at any time ever before to keep the lights on, and paying top dollar for that. At the very same time, in the very same basin across the invisible line in the North Sea, Norway are continuing to invest, continuing to explore, and continuing to drill. It's absolute madness, but it's just completely symbolic of this Labour government approach. It's ideology over practicality. It's self-interest and trade unions' interest over the national interest, and the British people are paying the price.
Listen, it's great to have you on. You said you're heading off on a flight. Just career advice.
Kemi Badenick is visiting Scotland today, so I'm off to see her.
She's just texted me and she said, next time, Bowie, stand outside. But we really appreciate you being on. We'll speak to you very soon. Andrew Bowie, former Energy Minister. They're talking about the reality of this Labour government. You can't vote, you can't trust the police. So much. A lovely message. We should say good morning to Rob, who's delighted. He says, I've just been listening. I've heard that the Office for National Statistics have said we're 0.3% up in November. He says we're having a street party later on in Newcastle because of the growth that's just been announced. We didn't realise we were doing so well till you told us. We're having bunting, we're having prawn vol au vents and small sandwiches with the crust cut off, because that's what people who do really well are doing. Then we're going to dance and sing and let fireworks off and drink and be merry because the United Kingdom is doing so well. Not. Morning, Phil.
Hey, Jezza. Phil in Nottingham here, mate. Great show. You've just announced that GDP's grown by 0.3% in this country. I can tell you why that is, mate. Because, like me, I bet a lot of people have had to take on a second job to be able to pay their bills. So, I'm a lorry driver. I work Monday to Friday. I'm up at 4 a.m. in the morning, and I can't manage anymore. So I've had to sign up for an agency and start working alternate Saturdays.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh, I'm loving Thursday. We can't vote, we can't trust the police. The app's encouraging people to come here. Oh, it's all going on. Welcome to Talk Breakfast. There's no water if you're in the south. There's no, honestly, but they're having a street party in Newcastle because we're 0.3% up in GDP. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Pat says, Talk, can you please tell me when we can get this dictator out of Downing Street? Can we strip him of his title? Baz in West Brom says, I'm just surprised that Starmer knows about the Kama Sutra because he doesn't actually know what a woman is. Brilliant. Elections. This is in Norfolk and Suffolk. This is the second year our vote is to be cancelled. We were told last year it was because of restructuring. Probably the same reason again. Ian Grant, Labour-controlled Thurrock Council has just cancelled its May elections in the interests of the residents. Loads of us beyond angry. I'm not doing that, George in Gretna. Morning, Jez. Great show. Samara Gill on Monday found 2 illegal Iranian migrants outside the Iranian embassy. One was being pursued by the police. I just wanted to know whether they've been arrested yet. We'll update you. Samara is here later on because, of course, it's National Pothole Day. So, well, she's not actually here. She's going to be in a hole somewhere in the United Kingdom. One of the big news stories of the day, and it never goes away, Prince Andrew. Page 7 of The Sun today. Andy removal vans finally turn up at Royal Lodge as Sky is plugged in at Sandringham. All the important things. A very good morning to The Sun's royal editor, Matt Wilkinson. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Great to see you.
And you, my friend. As you know, I used to live in that area. As we know, he's going to Sandringham, to Wood Farm. It's been updated. There's fencing and all this sort of stuff. We didn't think it would be this soon. Do we believe he's actually on the move at last?
Well, no, things are literally moving very fast for Andrew at the moment. The information is we're expecting him to be in Marsh Farm by Easter. However, he's likely to go to somewhere temporary for a few weeks, a few months before. So I expect him to be out definitely before his birthday next month, even before the end of the week. Don't remember that it was back in October that they said that he was going to hand back his lease. He agreed to hand back his 75-year lease. He actually had 12 months to leave. But things are moving far quicker than we thought. And we've been up to Marsh Farm. You talked there about Sky TV and the fences. I went up there in December when we realised that where he was moving to, and I thought there's no way that anyone could move in here within a couple of weeks or a couple of months. You go up there this week, wow, it's very close to being habitable. So, you know, you've got all eyes there on Royal Lodge, and I would suggest keep an eye on that, because I could see him, you know, disappearing finally from Royal Lodge in the next couple of weeks, and for his new life, his exile in Sandringham.
2 questions. What becomes? Do we have any plans for Royal Lodge? I mean, I know it really well. 30-bedroom mansion, ridiculous rent. The man is a disgrace and should go. What do we know anything that's going to happen in the future for Royal Lodge?
Well, it returns to the Crown Estate, which is, you probably understand, it's a rather complicated system where it's kind of owned by the royal family, but not owned by the royal family, and they take money from the Crown Estate to fund their lives. I believe that the plan was always that it would go. It would almost go not to the open market. Neil, you couldn't rent it, but it will go. Some big, you know, financier will pick it up, like other properties have happened. There's a property over Virginia Water that was Crown Estate that King Edward the.
A mate of mine rents a Crown Estate property across from Windsor Castle, one of those small cottages on the road down to Old Windsor. Yeah, no, they do that, and that's how they make it work. Where is he going to... Here's the thing for the press. Where's he going to go in the meantime? That's going to have to be a sort of safe house, isn't it? Because, I mean, the press will pursue him. Where do you imagine that will be? It won't be one of the palaces, will it?
No, I expect him to go up to Sandringham very soon. There's plenty of properties up there that you can hide away and not be seen, and I think he'll probably want to keep an eye on Marsh Farm and see how that's all getting on. I mean, look, I was speaking to someone about a year ago, 6 months ago, and they were saying to us, you guys will never be happy wherever, you know, you the public, you the press will never be happy where Andrew goes. If he gets a nice house in Sandringham, you'll moan, you'll say it's too big for him. If he gets a council house, you'll moan and say, well, this house should be for, you know, someone who needs a house. Even if he's a tent, you'll say that, you know, a homeless person should have it. But wherever he goes, this temporary place and this Marsh Farm, I think there are members of the public, probably viewers here, that think Andrew's very lucky that he's got this house.
I think he's lucky. I might as well nail it, Matt. I think he's very lucky he's not in prison.
He could be, his address could be Andrew Mountbatten, Windsor, HMP, Pentonville. That is the crux of the matter. So he'll go up to Sandringham for a bit of time before he moves into his big house and has his nice life. But I don't feel massive, you know, sympathy for him, because there are plenty of, you know, people around the world that are involved in his sex trafficking ring that are either in prison or still getting over what happened to them.
The whole argument for me about him is... because I know he's an infuriatingly obnoxious, entitled git, and I know that from the old man, but half of me thinks, has he had so much more than everybody else? But the other half of me is, as other people quite rightly say, so appalled by what they did that I think he should be incarcerated. So listen, we'll move from one miserable royal story to the other. This is Jeremy trying to be calm. Looks like Meghan's coming back for the Invictus Games then. Look at Matt. This is the story of the year. How is she... Where's she going to land? The protest, you can just see it now, man.
So this is all about the Invictus Games. Will be taking place in Birmingham next summer. It's a diplomatic issue for the royal family because they will probably be invited. But the issue this summer is 12 months out before the Invictus Games is held. They always have a 12-month countdown. And Meghan, I've seen her, I've been to the last 2 or 3, she always attends. So there are plans for her to come to the UK in the summer for the 12-month out countdown in Birmingham. Harry is, and we all know this, he's desperately trying to get his security. He's trying to get this armed protection, this gun cops to follow him around. So if that deal comes through this month, I would expect her to be over in the summer, surrounded by maybe Met police officers or West Midlands police officers while she's standing beside Harry in Birmingham.
Can I just say something to you? I wouldn't want you to get out of your lane because of your expertise, but there is an irony in what you just said, and somebody pointed it out earlier. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex could come over to the Invictus Games in Birmingham and have close-knit protection from the West Midlands police, an anti-Semitic bunch of liars who wouldn't defend the Israeli football fans. That's ironic, isn't it? In many, many instances, really ironic.
Well, I would expect many, many meetings. I would expect a lot of talk, a lot of discussions between the Royal Protection Police and obviously the Sussexes and the royal household about what happens. But yeah, you make a very valid point,
mate. Great to have you on always. We thank you so much. I'm not just saying this because Matt's here. The Sun's coverage of the royal stuff is the only place you need to go. We'll watch the Andrew situation. We'll watch Meghan and the Invictus Games. Matt Wilkinson, royal editor for the Sun. Thank you very much indeed. We're going to London. I've got a minute and a half, Nigel. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, thanks. I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. A minute and a half, man. Go.
Go. I want to say simply that policing in this country has collapsed. The public have no confidence in the police. When you consider this guy won't fall on his sword, he cannot understand what's going on, how can the public have confidence in the police in the West Midlands, number one? Number two, the Met Police have got 300 police officers still employed with criminal convictions. How can we have confidence in a police service which misleads and lies to the public and lies to politicians, and as a police service where a Home Secretary cannot even sack a police officer for what he has done? It's remarkable.
It's bad, it's awful, it's undemocratic. I couldn't agree more. I'm not going to repeat. I agree with everything. I wake up sometimes and I think I don't know what damn country I'm in. Nigel, thank you, in London. Spread the word about the Talk Breakfast Show. It's 5 to 8. Good morning, Dan.
Morning, Jezza. It's Dan from Kent. P&Q's yesterday in the Starmer with the Kama Sutra reference. Word is he tried out the wheelbarrow, but soon had to give up because he couldn't push for a policy.
I think this guy, Guildford, is at the epicenter. He's the epitome of everything that is wrong with modern British policing. He's trying to say, oh, we administer the law without fear or favour. No, Mr. Guildford, you administer the law with fear of the Muslim community. You did exactly what the Islamists, what the extremists in Birmingham told you to do, at the expense of the rights of Jewish football fans.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Breakfast. In the next hour, Dan Hodges, Layla Cunningham, all to come on the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. You're waking up to the news that 4 million of us won't be able to vote because Starmer's going to stop you. The West Midlands Police corrupt Chief Constable still in a job. Rob's having a bad day on National Pothole Day. He's just said he's driven through the village on the school run and suddenly a 45-foot wide and 59-foot deep hole has opened up. But don't worry, because the police are looking into it. God, it's getting worse. Samara Gill, SOS, send our Samara out and about. Pothole Day, National Pothole, everywhere. She's on her way. She's going to be standing in a deep, deep hole. We'll keep your calls coming. We'll keep your texts coming. Reg Gardner, will there be problems with Meghan Markle going to Birmingham for the Invictus Games? Of course there will. JK, I think the Ginger Winder and Sprinkles will move to Royal Lodge. Really? He can't wait to move back. No, you made your bed in Montecito. Stay there, you odious little git, says Margaret. Joanna from Salisbury, are Meghan and Harry eyeing up Royal Lodge? I hadn't thought about it. Right. Keep those texts coming. 87222. Start your message with the word talk. Morning, Steve.
Morning, Jezza. We're just paying for basically a nuclear power station to be built out of taxpayers' money. Yet there's no guarantees that we're going to get reduced cost energy from all these new investments. So what other business does that? If you put money into a business and invest in it, you expect to come back for your money. So the taxpayer should actually get reduced costs guaranteed from these energy firms.
It's one of the biggest sporting spectacles on planet Earth, Super Bowl 60, and you could be there. Enter now at talk.tv/win for the chance to score a fantastic 4-day trip for two to the City by the Bay, San Francisco, including tickets to Super Bowl 60 and $2.5 grand in cold hard cash. It's Hail Marys and money. Enter now at talk.tv/win and get set for a gilt-edged trip to the Golden State you'll never forget. For your chance to win, text TALK to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343-418-7260. Lines close 22nd January 2026, 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at TalkSport.com. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk. Across.
A very good Good morning, welcome back. Just gone 8 o'clock. You would talk. It's the home of common sense and the home of Alarm Clock Britain. And really, you know, whatever you want to talk about, we'll lay it out for you. Text us the word talk to 87222. Send a voice note 0344 499 1000. This is your show. It doesn't matter what you want to talk about. It's your ability to have your say. You're waking up to some, oh, that's shocking, just incredibly depressing news. I mean, front of the mirror, the Telegraph. 4 million of us denied the right to vote. Starmer is basically going to cancel at least 27 council elections across the United Kingdom, meaning 4 million taxpayers won't get the chance to say whether they agree or disagree with their local representative. He says it's because I'm just, you know, restructuring. Reform and the Tories saying this morning this is absolutely an attack on our democracy. You want to talk about democracy? One of the most important things is what? Is the economy, is also law and order, is trust in the police. If you've been following this story in the West Midlands, Craig Guilford, the West Midlands police chief constable, has been proven that he's lied. He's used AI. He's lied to Parliament. He's lied to everybody. He's kowtowed to the Muslim vote. That is a fact. We're not making that up. It's not far-right language. Nobody can sack him, apparently. The Home Secretary hasn't got the power. The Police and Crime Commissioner doesn't have the power. It might be another month. And it does beg the question, without being anything other than straight, what are we saying? We're saying we're not allowed to vote. They're going to close down X probably because that free speech thing's not great. And now certain parts of our police forces, the length and breadth of this country, are at best policing in different ways to different groups. Madness. 0344 499 1000. Oh, and the economy's screwed. Morning, Ad.
Hi, Jezza. Adam from Bournemouth. Well, the economy grew 0.3 in November. Probably has something to do with it being around coming up to Christmas, maybe. And that's probably about it. So, mate, there's still no good news there, really. Anyway, mate, cheers for a great show.
God, he sounds about as... God, honestly, Adam, you wouldn't be waking up anybody, would you? Andrew from Bournemouth, sponsored by Mogadon. Bless his heart for getting involved, though. We appreciate it. All is not lost. It is, of course, National Pothole Day, OK? That's really exciting because Samara, our sort of roving reporter, will be out and about a big hole. But perhaps the most important thing that I should share with you is Keir Starmer yesterday thought he'd try and make politics funny. And he stood up in the House of Commons and he gave a joke about the Kama Sutra. Have a listen.
Mr. Speaker, on consistency, don't get me started on 5 Prime Ministers, 6 Chancellors, 8 Home Secretaries, 16 Housing Ministers. They had more positions in 14 years than the Kama Sutra. No wonder they're knackered and they left the country screwed.
So we just thought, you know, dad jokes, he can't tell one. Not many people are. We'd love your dad jokes. We've got a yoghurt as a prize. That's all I've got. 8722. Am I doing the Newcastle one? A chemist was broken into in Newcastle and a large quantity of Viagra tablets were taken. Police say they're looking for hardened criminal. My favourite so far, which is anonymous, and Big Mark loves it. I cleaned the attic with the wife the other day. Now I can't get the bloody cobwebs out of her hair. Brilliant. 8722. On National Pothole Day, this is great, I've just destroyed my tyre in a pothole in the middle of nowhere. The wait time is going to be 8 hours, 6 hours. The tyre isn't fixed. I haven't slept. I'm going to work now. I'm tired, exhausted. I hate everything about my life, but thanks very much for the show. You get an idea of where we're at. Let's make it balanced now. Mail on Sunday, a writer, of course, legend as well, commentator. Dan Hodges, a very good morning to a very happy studio not. How are you?
Good. Good morning.
God, where do we start, mate? Well, we start with democracy. We start with the right of all of us to vote. And we look at this story this morning that says that 4 million of us won't be able to because of Starmer changing electoral boundaries and dates. And then you add into that the juries, you know, no juries, just judges. And then you add into that, you know, X banning social media and stuff like that. And you do start to get a rather cynical view of this government's ideology, don't you, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'll be honest, I think you're giving the government a little bit too much credit because by claiming they have an ideology, you're implying there is some sort of plan or some sort of coherence.
Yeah.
behind what Keir Starmer and his ministers are doing. And as we have seen already this week, they haven't got a plan, they haven't got a strategy. They're just flailing around all over the place, trying to survive from day to day. But your broader point is a very fair one. Imagine, for example, if we had a situation where, I don't know, in the United States, Donald Trump announced he was going to abolish jury trials. If he said he was going to cancel the midterm elections in the United States. If he said he was going to look at censoring media outlets that opposed him on grounds of taste and decency, I think certainly the people around Keir Starmer himself, Keir Starmer supporters, those supporters that still exist, would be up in arms about it and pointing to that and saying there was something fundamentally wrong. Now, I don't, I think we do have to be a little bit careful. We are not, I've seen, I saw people at the start of the year running around saying, oh, Keir Starmer's going to cancel the next general election and things like that. He's not, but we are getting onto inching towards the top of a very slippery slope with this sort of stuff. And as you say, you put it together collectively, and I do think some people need to stop and say, hang on a second, this cannot stand.
It's really interesting, actually. Yours is a very balanced view, as it always has been. Sorry, Dan, I have to say good morning to Oliver and Iris. They're in the car, otherwise they won't go to school. Morning, gang. The thing about it is we've sat here and we've talked about a lack of a plan. Sue Gray, 100 days. She'd gone on day 93. We can strip back in a cynical way and say, ultimately, the Labour Party, if you look back in history, will always try and take the population's liberties and spend more than they've got and will end up skinting. But I think we were so fixated on the disaster that was the Tories that we were... Not we, I wouldn't have voted Labour, but people were blinded as to the reality of what was going to happen. I watched his backbenchers yesterday while he made that sort of ridiculous Kama Sutra joke. There's sort of palpable embarrassment and loathing. You can see it. His body language is that of a defeated man. Patently around the cabinet table they are plotting left, right and centre. And it seems, as you quite rightly say, to be a sort of daily struggle to sort of lurch from one disaster to the other. And to me, and I'm not just saying it because I don't agree with anything he says, but he looks like a dead man walking. I want Britain to be good, whatever political party's in government, and we are nationally, locally and internationally becoming a laughingstock. We are.
Well, you put your finger on it, and you say exactly the same in the Daily Mail, in the Daily Mail this morning. I mean, we no longer have a prime minister in any sort of normal sense of the word. We have a spectre. Keir Starmer, as I say, he has no plan. He has no strategy.
Are you surprised at how bad it's gone?
Yeah, no, I am. I mean, I was going to come on to that. I mean, you're absolutely right. Obviously, much of our focus, and indeed much of the country's focus prior to the election, was on, frankly, the mess the Tories had made at everything. But I genuinely struggle to align the Keir Starmer we are seeing as Prime Minister with the Keir Starmer who was leader of the opposition.
Did he dupe us, or were we all blinded by how appalling the Tories had done and we didn't look further?
No, I think there's two things. I think we shouldn't sugarcoat it. The last Tory administration was an appalling administration, which is why they were booted out of office by such a huge extent. I think part of it was Keir Starmer's strategy. Obviously, before the election, his entire strategy, it was what we called at the time the Ming Vase strategy, to just get, ease into power, slide into power, saying and doing as little as possible. But also, I think, in fairness, I don't think anybody could have rationalised or expected Keir Starmer to be this bad. I mean, I touched on it in my piece, and you touched on it then. The moment yesterday in Prime Minister's Questions when he stood up and made the Kama Sutra joke, right? There is nothing about Keir Starmer. There is nothing in Keir Starmer's politics his background, his history, his personality, that could have told anybody who knows him to any extent, this is a guy who's going to get up and start telling,
Well, it's not just that. My kids are listening in the car.
1970s style jokes at the dispatch box.
No,
it's just not him. I
No,
mean,
no,
it's
it's
just
not him. But even more so, without being personal, there isn't anybody I've ever met more unlikely to have ever read the bloody Kama Sutra. It's just, and I'm amazed. I mean, you said Ming Vaz, and you're right, in the last election, and I remember broadcasting and thinking, yeah, it's clever. The Tories have destroyed themselves. Just say now and you'll be fine. I now suspect that the Ming Vaz policy hid a complete lack of ideas, a complete lack of any sort of plan. And you know what, Dan? I said something to somebody the other day, and I don't know if this is the right way to describe it. There are many politicians, you've covered many I have over the years. Some are more boisterous, some are more thoughtful, some are very good speakers, some aren't. Some have core values. I don't see, feel or smell any political DNA in Keir Starmer. There's not, even if I would, said it yesterday about Corbyn. I disagree with everything Jeremy Corbyn ever said. But begrudgingly, I would say in that election, he stood on his values, on what he believed. He didn't U-turn and he got 34% of this country. I have a greater admiration politically, although I agree with everything, for what Corbyn did than this guy who's, it's just like powder puff, man. I mean, look at this.
No,
Go on.
I completely agree with that. I mean, you know, again, the point I make today is, in a sense, I'm not making a political point here, because as you said, you know, he doesn't have any politics.
No.
So there are certain people. It doesn't matter whether you sit on the right of politics and you wish to see a sort of a right-wing vision for the country. It doesn't matter whether you sit on the left of politics and want the country to move to the left after a decade of Tory rule. It doesn't matter if you're basically like me and you're just a sort of a dyed-in-the-wool sort of fence-clenching centrist. Keir Starmer is nothing to anybody.
No,
Keir Starmer does not offer anything to anyone. And as I say, I just do not understand what the point of him is anymore. I just can't see what the point of him is.
Let's bring it on to the other main news story of the day, Dan, if I can, in your brilliant newspaper, The Mail, front page, shameless. I won't go through it all again, but this is the story of the Craig Guilford, the Chief Constable of West Midlands Police, who's lied to Parliament, lied to all of us, has made up through AI a series of excuses to ban Jewish football fans from going to Birmingham. As I said earlier, in a very calm way, I am only after one thing here, which is to hope that we can achieve a police force left and right across this country that polices about crime and what's right and what's wrong, and doesn't base how it treats would-be criminals, liars, thieves or whatever differently, judging by whatever religion, creed, colour of their skin. I think it's an absolutely outrageous thing. I have no idea why Shabana Mahmood couldn't have sat Parliament through the night and brought in a rule and sacked this liar, this anti-Semite. The Police and Crime Commissioner isn't going to do anything for a month. How they're not in special measures, but more than anything, for people listening today, they're saying to me, how much more of this is going on in the United Kingdom, Dan Hodges?
But I mean, this is one of the. This is up there with the, you know, and we've had a few of them over the last few years. This is up there with one of the most appalling sort of police abuse scandals we've ever seen. I mean, just think about this for a second. We had a situation where members of the Jewish community were not allowed to walk the streets of Britain because of a direct threat to their security. The police force that was supposed to be protecting them and ensuring their safe passage in and out of the country actually washed their hands of them, and then literally lied about the reason they'd done that, and created this entire fiction, this AI-generated fiction about why they were policing this event in the way they were policing it. And to come on to the other point, let's set aside the appalling racism that underpins this entire scandal. Racism, by the way, that if it had been perpetrated against any other minority ethnic group, people on the left would be absolute up in arms about this. I mean,
racism, I have to jump in. You've touched upon my absolute bugbear, Dan. I find any racism abhorrent, and I'm just saying that to tick boxes, but quite how blatant anti-Semitic racism does not get treated in the same way as other appalling examples is, I think, one of the biggest stains on this country right now.
We can see it. People talk about racism and then they talk about anti-Semitism as if they're entirely, separate things. But even within that context, you said at the beginning, what you want to see is, effective, good old-fashioned, solid policing. The key element of this, which I don't think is being picked up on enough, is what is a major British police force doing utilising AI in this context?
Yeah.
Why was it relying on some sort of AI-generated report? It didn't have to. There was an actual report from the police in Amsterdam following the incident that had occurred. They could have simply spoken directly and accessed the actual intelligence about the event rather than relying on AI. I have absolutely no idea how they got.
Do you fear this could be around in other forces where, the law and order guardians, as I call them, are making decisions based on not upsetting local community leaders?
Well, I think there are two things. I mean, that has clearly happened in this case. That's clearly happened in this case. But also, as I should say, I think we need to look into that. I also think we need to look into how the police are utilising AI. As we've been told, this formed a fundamental part of this ridiculous scandal.
Makes people lose faith, though, doesn't it? And then, of course, what it does is it builds up the narrative amongst the conspiratorial who say, well, it's free speech, our ability to vote, the police are... And you look at it and you go, I'm not actually speaking out of turn. I'm going to finish with another story in your paper that makes me want to headbutt the desk in which I'm sat behind. You'll know this story. This is last week, in the middle of the week, we had Keir Starmer wanted to ban X, and like many others, that Grok AI thing, disgusting. But I think if you're going for one platform and not the other, you can be accused of many things. Then he launches an app on TikTok on the same day because the optics of his government are so appalling. An exclusive by Bill Curtis on page 20 of the Mail today. App funded by the Home Office that actually proving to be a pull factor for illegal migrants. This is unbelievable. Just Good Work, which was developed partly by Migrant Help, a charity that got nearly £400 million from the taxpayer, is being used as a pull for people to come. It says the UK is a beautiful country with great transport links for easy national and international travel. Why not come over? I honestly, Dan, I'm beginning to think I should go and live in North Korea.
Well, I wouldn't do that. But I mean, the one thing I would say is if people are arriving in this country because they think it has these wonderful transport links, I think they're in for a slight shock when they get it. But again, I mean, it's just it goes back to what we were talking about how the government literally has no strategy, no plan, no coherent message, no coherent vision, and the reality is, you and I have been banging on about this for weeks, months. It's not going to change.
No.
Yeah, everybody knows that. Every Labour MP knows it. Every cabinet minister knows it. Everybody in the country knows it. None of this is going to change, at a minimum, until Keir Starmer is gone. What are we playing out, continuing to play out this farce for?
Couldn't agree
Keir
more.
Starmer has not got it. We know he's not got it. It's time for the Labour Party, for the sake of the country and for the Labour Party, actually, to move on from this guy now.
Great having you on, mate. Great piece in the Mail as ever. Great debate as well. Dan Hodges, thank you so much indeed. We'll see you next week. We're live across the UK on the Talk Breakfast Show, 8:22. It's National Pothole Day. National Pothole Day. Samara Gill. I mean, our new roving reporter in the space of her first week, has found 2 Iranian migrants, has been outside the Chinese embassy. I don't know where she is today, the poor mare. Morning, where are you?
Gosh, if I could tell you, Jeremy, but I tell you what I am looking at, a patchwork quilt full of potholes. My goodness, the Transport Secretary Louise Haigh has pledged less than half of what is needed to actually solve this issue. So after the break, I'm going to show you some pretty gnarly stuff. You're going to want to keep tuned for that.
Why not? Instead of just announcing policies just randomly off the cuff because someone mentioned it over your fancy carbonara in a North London restaurant on Saturday night, why don't you have some thought through philosophies and plans for what you want to do to this country? Why don't you engage people who really know about a topic and do some research? Why don't you find out what people might think about it? Why don't you find out how you could make it work, how much it will cost, when it can be achieved, and what it will actually achieve?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 8:25. Thursday morning, live across the UK. This is Jeremy Kyle on Talk, the home of common sense, the home of free speech. It is National Pothole Day. It's your chance to tell us about your potholes. It's the day that after Keir Starmer made a joke about the Kama Sutra. But this was extraordinary, by the way, and I do want to read this out because I think it's important to share this with you. Somebody said, just an idea for the Keir Sutra. Oh, God. Ensure your partner assumes the touching your toes position whilst facing away from you. Then you U-turn to the left, then you U-turn to the right, and you repeat 13 times. If your partner isn't happy, you turn again and again and again. So it's renamed the Kama Sutra. He said the Tories have had more positions than the Kama Sutra. I cannot believe a man that boring has ever read the Kama Sutra, but we are renaming it on Talk Breakfast as the Keir Sutra. I'm going to go back to Samara Gill, a roving reporter. First up, right, Gil, I haven't seen a hole. Where are the potholes, woman? What? I thought you were going to be knee-deep in a massive hole. What's going on?
I tell you what, first up, I'm just going to say that another one of those liars, Louise Haigh, who's the former Transport Secretary, is now Heidi Alexander, but she's equally as useless. So I just want to correct that. But some of these potholes are so big that you probably could do some positions in them, Jeremy. Let's just take a look at the one behind me there. Now, they've tried to cover up quite a few potholes, and this is the issue. It actually can't be called a pothole unless a toddler can fit in it, and they just call them kind of irregular road issues. So that's kind of what's going on here, and that is really, really bad.
I'm not impressed by the hole. I'm sorry, Samara. I'm straight with you. You're straight with me. Your hole, that's not big enough. That's not big.
You're going to have to take that up with your researchers, Jeremy.
What? My researchers need to find me a hole that started to crack. I mean, honestly, tell the bloke on the camera.
That is starting to crack.
Oh, is it starting to crack? Is it? Right.
Yes, it's starting to crack. Here's the key issue.
What's that?
These councils, they basically want to put a Band-Aid over a bullet hole here, where they're just clearly filling the holes when what they should be doing is resurfacing them completely. But the government doesn't want to put up enough money to do that.
Yeah.
Now, that car here that's just about to go over one of them, the average cost is over £600 for a family vehicle if they incur damages from a pothole. So this is costing the UK taxpayer billions of dollars
and it's
per
not
year,
actually,
Jeremy.
and it's not, it's not actually covered with many insurance policies. Mark Morell, Mr. Loophole, who's on in just a tick, says there are now specific parts of insurance policies that you can buy into that deal with it. I went over one the other day, right? And honestly, you'd feel like you were driving into a crater, and you go, well, how's that in the middle of the road? Now, you're loving your first week on the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, aren't you?
I'm loving it. I'm loving the audience. I've received many tip-offs. We've got lots of locations we're definitely going to go to.
Right, well, fulfil the criteria of the job then.
Another pothole.
Well, fulfil the criteria of the job today, otherwise words will be had later, Gil. Go next time we come to you, I want you inside a pothole. Even if Joe the cameraman has to get a spade and dig the fake filling out. I need a hole.
I need a hole too, Jeremy. Let's see if we can find one in the next hour.
All right, we're looking for a hole together. The amazing Samara Gill on the hunt for massive potholes live across the United Kingdom. Thank you, sweet. 0344 499. I don't think she's very happy with that. 03, just dig one out. 0344 499 1000. Let's cross to the man himself, right? Mr. Pothole. Imagine your legacy being known as Mr. Pothole. Mark Morell, good morning, sir. How are you?
Very busy, Jeremy. It'd be fair to Samara, that hole has had a temporary infill. It was bigger before, and it's a poor quality repair that will be out within a matter of weeks.
I wanted to jump up and down on it so that the fake middle bit comes apart and she can be down in a hole. That's the point. You told me something the other day which I thought was fascinating. That potholes cause how many millions of pounds worth of damage in the United Kingdom? You gave me a stat the other day.
Well, the badly maintained roads is estimated to cost the UK economy £14.4 billion a year.
Oh dear. 600,000 plus call-outs in a year. You also touched upon, which I mean, these temporary fillings are a joke. You also touched upon an insurance policy nowadays that can actually include, for not a very large amount of cost, specific pothole cover. Is that right?
Yeah, there's a couple of companies that are doing it, and it's an evolving market. And as in the next few months, I think it will become more widespread. And I've actually started to have a chat with them because I think it's an interesting thing. And if I can look at them and think they're worthwhile doing, then maybe it's something that I think motorists should be made aware of, because I think it could help them in the struggles we've got. I mean, but for National Pothole Day, Jeremy, carriageway backlog between 2000 and 2025 grew by an average of £530 million.
Yep.
Over the last 5 years, it's actually increased by £1.2 billion. So the network is deteriorating and failing. The age of the network, the lack of resurfacing, heavy vehicles, and all the other factors mean that we're on a decline that's increasing massively. Government, on average, between 2020 and 2024, we're putting in £1.3 billion to local road maintenance. Well, obviously, clearly, it's not doing anything because the backlog growing at that rate. Labour have put in an extra £300 million this year, but it's not going to do much at all when the network's declining at that. Government ministers want to talk about pothole spending. Well, that's a sign of failure of your network. They never want to talk about the massive road maintenance backlog that we've got and how it's going to be addressed unless they face up.
They don't, do they? You're right. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to do anything right, do they?
No. I mean, and I've said on air a number of times, I'm more than willing to have a debate with the Secretary of State for Transport or a roads minister in open public debate about what the issues are.
Well,
and
I'd love
underlying
to be able
problems.
to facilitate that, but nobody from the Labour government or party will come on this show at this moment in time. But the door is always open, just for people. And I know, you know, people are going, why are you talking about this? I'm talking about this because this costs people bloody money. And you look at the money that we spend on so many ludicrous things in this country, and our roads are I mean, I spent a lot of time living for a while luckily in Barbados, and I used to think that their roads were appalling. I'm telling you categorically now, the roads in Barbados are probably better than about 50% of the roads in the United Kingdom. And if you are, as so many Brits are, needing that vehicle for work or for pleasure or the school run, it's an absolute nightmare. And there's no way out of this, and it costs money, and the onus should be on the government, local or national, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they pull in over £50 billion a year from all sorts of taxation from motorists, yet they're only spending £1.3 billion or £1.6 billion this year on maintaining something. But the network's worth about £600 billion. And in terms of investment on an asset, you should be spending 1% of the value of that asset, maintaining it annually. That's good economics.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair. I think what you're asking for is unfair. I think we're better off spending the money putting illegal migrants in 4-star hotels. Why should the British taxpayer have a right to a road that doesn't mess its car up? What sort of man are you, Mark Morell, really?
I can fully understand that, and I get them comments from some of my followers. But we're going to find, was it £40 billion to put a link between Birmingham and Manchester?
Yeah, hold on. Don't start me on that. That's by 2050. That's Rachel Thieves. I wouldn't worry about that. It's called HS2. It didn't happen before. The thing about governments are, Mark, you know this and why it frustrates you and me in equal measure. They find money when they need to. Yes, we're skinned. The roads are part of the infrastructure that binds this country that's falling on its arse together. They need to improve. Mark, thank you very much indeed. Mark Morell, happy National Pothole Day. It's like Christmas for him. He's like the Santa Claus of potholes. People are just expecting him to come round and fill their holes in. Samara, I mean, we just got a hole that was filled. We saw some footage just there, full of water, but he's got a bloody rubber duck on one. That's what we want. We want Samara Gill in a proper port. Can I just say, by the way, that joke that Starmer talked about in the Commons yesterday, the Kama Sutra, this has met with tremendous amounts of interest. Joe in Willoughby in East Yorkshire, or it could be Joe Willoughby in East Yorkshire, we know not what. She says, morning, Jez, you missed a trick. From now on, it could be called the Starmer Sutra. Oh, dear. I can't imagine him being a vehicle by which we judge. I mean, look, I'm just going to put it basically to you. I don't think a man who doesn't know where he's going in any way is going to dedicate or tell me what position I should take, because he's never taken a position in his life, has he? Morning, Sarah.
Jezza, great show. I'm out with the dog again in the absolutely pouring rain. It's lovely. Anyway, just listening to your comments about the Keir Starmer comments yesterday. I'm sorry, but the words Keir and Kama Sutra do not belong in the same sentence. It actually made me want to vomit. But on a serious note, is this parliamentary language? I don't believe it is. This is, I suppose, what you'd call banter, the kind of thing you used to have in a pub. Oh my God, he just needs to go. I cannot wait to get the next 4 years out of the way, and we just hope something better to come along afterwards. Anyway, thanks a lot. Bye.
Across the UK, on on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
She certainly is the Queen of Westminster from 10 o'clock, and Ian Collins from 1. Morning, says Paula Jez. Great show as always. I'm on a national park holiday. Wow. I've just driven over 6 bloody potholes on the way to London from Essex. Now I have to go and get a new tyre. It's making me 2 hours late for work. I'm having a nightmare. It's the reality of it. National Pothole Day. Morning, Mike. You are completely out of order over the Maccabi bans. It was their supporters that were banned, and they are not exclusively Jewish. Dislike of Israel is not anti-Semitic. Interesting point. Morning, Jez. Chief Constable Craig Guilford's admission that he lied and indeed misled Parliament about Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. This was a direct result of pressure from his Muslim masters. It leads you to wonder what other instructions he and other chief constables have received on a variety of issues. For example, turning a blind eye to the rape gangs. Boris Johnson was rightfully sacked for misleading Parliament. How in the name of God does Guildford survive? No idea. Rachel, our office is 6 degrees. The heating broke 4 years ago and the business can't afford to replace the heating. Do you know why? Net zero. Oh, God. We've got a voice note. Good morning, Helen.
Yeah, that Kia Kama Sutra business. Oh, my God. Cringe. Awful. What the heck did he do that for? I couldn't believe it. What was he trying to make a joke for in the first place? Never mind about that. Helen in Knutsford.
I've got one for you there, Dad joke. Can I do one? I've got one for you. Police arrested 2 kids yesterday. One was drinking battery acid and the other was eating a firework. They charged one and let the other one off. Hey! 87222. Jackie, some people get away with sleazy jokes, but not Starmer. Is he beginning to show his true colours? I've always had an uneasy feeling about him. Keep up the free speech and campaigning against the appalling attack on our majority democracy, says Jackie. And Chris in Ottershaw, where the Wise family are from, a lorry load of wigs tipped on the M1. Police are luckily combing the area. Do you see what we did there? That's a dad joke, isn't it? Oh, no, I can't do the lettuce one, can I? That's absolutely outrageous. All right. I went to the doctor yesterday, to Simon in Sussex. I was a bit embarrassed. I told him that I had a problem with the lettuce poking out of me. He said, don't worry, it's just the tip of the iceberg. Welcome to Talk Breakfast. Let's go to a man who I've waited for all morning. He's now a star of stage and screen and has moved beyond coming in. He just welcomes us to his dressing room in the middle of his worldwide tour. He's in a working men's club, it seems. Peter Blexley, a very good morning. How's the tour going, dear boy? You look slightly more tired than usual.
It's going very well, thank you. I'm performing to sold-out audiences, the length and breadth of the country. So don't try and get a ticket for Stamford tonight. That's sold out. But Nottingham on Saturday, or Basildon on Friday, or Guildford on Sunday, there's still a few tickets left. So
am I taking a cut? Am I taking a cut from you using this show as a marketing tool, or what?
If you were to speak very nicely to me off air, then I might just be able to sort out a couple of complimentaries for you and Mrs. Kyle. How's that for a deal?
That's a deal. Have you got, before we get serious, because you are going to blow this out the water, have you got a dad joke for me that's broadcastable on the back of Keir Starmer's Kama Sutra joke yesterday? Have you got one that's broadcastable, Blexley?
Yes, I have. I after the show, I went to the pub last night and I came back to the hotel with a greyhound, which I'd bought off a bloke.
Yeah.
And my wife said to me, what are you going to do with that? I said, I'm going to race it. She said, looking at the state of it, I think you'll beat it.
Rubbish. Right, Pete, I'm going to cut over the democracy thing. I'm going to go straight to something that I think is beyond shameless, and it highlights, I have to say, what you have been telling me for the best part of 3 years. Craig Guilford, the West Midlands Chief Constable, still in a job this morning, despite the fact that this police force and this Chief Constable lied via AI, made up a game that Maccabi Tel Aviv actually played against my team, which they didn't, to incite, to use as an excuse that there was crowd trouble, blah, 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 blah. There is definitive proof that this man has kowtowed to the Muslim areas in Birmingham, and let me just say, this is not racist or far right, this is just straight language here. He's kowtowed to a certain demographic to get a game banned or fans banned. He's been caught out lying. We've got a Home Secretary who stood up and said, oh, I can't know anything about it, although I think he's rubbish at his job. We've got a Police and Crime Commissioner, a Corbynista, who's going, well, we need to look at the facts in a month. That Parliament could have sat all night. That police force should be in special measures. That Chief Constable should be sacked instantly. It is beyond me, because we're getting to a point, Pete, without over-egging this, that there are people ringing here and writing and saying, how many more police forces are corrupt and are basically basing their decisions on what local groups might or might put pressure on them for? I think it's a terrible situation.
Yeah, let's be very, very clear about this. Certain Muslim tyrannical mobs were planning to attack Jews, Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters, if they came to Aston Villa for that game. And the police knew it. They were arming themselves. They were going to, with anti-Semitism coursing through their veins, they were going to attack Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters. But Craig Guilford and his senior leadership team completely spun it the opposite direction and said that we've got to ban their supporters from coming, the Maccabi Tel Aviv, because they're violent and they'll cause trouble. In other words, as you pointed out, and I want to iterate, Craig Guilford lied to Parliament through cowardice. They didn't have the balls to go, right, who are these mobs? Where are they arming? Let's go and target them. Let's go and arrest them.
Why?
No.
Why? Why?
Because they are afraid of Muslim gangs rising up in such numbers that they either can't or won't tackle head on. It is cowardice at the very heart of this story.
But you say cowardice, it also begs other questions, which is, if and I know you've talked about it a lot, if the very people that we pay and expect to, how do I put this, see through the difference between right and wrong, police our streets, do the right thing, if they're able to change direction under pressure from whatever demographic, religious group or whatever, how in the name of God is crime ever going to be solved? And are we going to get to a situation where this is the norm? Because this is appalling. We've already found out today we can't vote, 4 million of us. We're now saying the people that, are supposed to control law and order, you can possibly buy them for a few quid or a bit of pressure. It's appalling.
Moreover, they are betraying the very tenet of policing, which is to police impartiality and without fear or favour. They are absolutely ripping up that rule book, and they are being pushed, persuaded, bullied, coerced, steered by tyrannical mob rule. That's the state we've got to, and it is utterly appalling. People need to stand up to these criminals. I would have been delighted if a senior officer came to me and said, Blex, there's a mob of people looking to arm themselves and attack some football fans. I'd say, lovely, leave it to me, Governor. I'll go and find out where they are, find out where their weapons are, and they will be nicked.
Why do you think that doesn't happen anymore, mate?
Cowardice. Yet again, they are being persuaded. They are captured by minority vocal gangs who they are, quite frankly, terrified of, and they will not stand up to. Yet again, it's cowardice.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because, of course, whenever we have this debate, or when this debate is started, you have to be very careful, because people will say, you're being this, you're being that. I'm not. I don't care whether I don't care what the religious group, I don't care who it is. If people bring pressure to bear on the police and the police buckle, in my mind, you're heading towards anarchy. I mean, to me, and also, Pete, and I'm really strong on this, it also highlights something that disgusts me. I find all racism abhorrent. There are millions of Jews, there are millions of Muslims in this country that live their lives correctly and brilliantly. I'd like them to be more vocal about the more radical side, but there we go. Anti-Semitism, and Dan Hodges said this at 8 o'clock, has never been, and I presume, hopefully one day it will be, it's never been given the same attention or that Islamophobia and other things. The fact is, just because Jews are white does not mean anti-Semitism is worse than any other form of racism. And this is blatantly cowing down to this Muslim minority, and this is anti-Semitic behaviour. This guy, I thought you'd be incandescent with rage. He should be absolutely stripped of his job. I'd have had him in this morning and sacked him. I wouldn't even care if I didn't have the power. I'd have made the power overnight in the House of Commons. That's what I'd have done if I was Mahmood.
It is an absolute disgrace that as we sit here this morning broadcasting to your audience, Craig Guilford is drawing a very fat salary. It is absolutely outrageous. If I were a serving police officer, I don't care about the colour of the skin, about the race, about the ethnicity, about whatever religion somebody might follow. If somebody came to me and said, here's a group of people, they are looking to arm themselves and they are looking to hurt another group of people, I would say, thank you very much, Governor. We will gather the evidence, and when we have sufficient, we will arrest them, we will hopefully charge them and put them in front of a court of law, no matter who they are.
Couldn't agree more, mate. Where does it end, do you think? Do you think that he will fall on his sword? Do you think he'll be sacked? Do you think that the pressure will continue to build? And what do you think? I mean, here's an irony for you when you've answered that. Apparently, Meghan Markle and Harry could be coming to the United Kingdom this summer to Birmingham for the Invictus Games. Do you think the police will be able to protect them, or do you think they'll tell them to stay away? Hypocrisy.
For the sake of the good cops, for the good cops that are out there this morning, this afternoon, tonight, overnight, while we sleep, the good, honest, selfless public servants who run towards danger and would be summarily sacked if they lied like Guilford has lied. For all those good cops, something must change. Guilford must go, and senior police officers must reconnect with an age-old concept of truth, honesty, fearlessness and impartiality.
Pete, stay there. I've got a couple of calls. I'd like you to be involved. Well, just one, actually. Just go to, I don't know where it is. Let's go to Kevin in North Yorkshire. Kev, good morning. You're through to myself and Peter Blexley. What you got?
Well, he's obviously morally bankrupt and incompetent. But the other issue I'd like to bring on that is the idea that he's used AI to do this or blamed it on AI. Doesn't that tell you something about the reliance on AI, on the fact that it gives you the answer that you want, not the answer that you need, and that there's too much reliance on it? And it's frightening how this would happen. I have an ex-colleague that went for a job interview, and what happened was that he got the job, he was given the job, he was offered the job, and they ran the process through AI, and they said, oh, no, actually, the second person actually looked better through AI, so we're going to have to hold the interviews again. And it's terrifying that there's a reliance on this, and these incompetent people can then use it to get the answer that they want, not the answer that they need.
Pete, is there a high... Thank you, Kev. Pete, is there a high sort of use of AI, do you think, in police?
It is an absolutely brilliant point that he raises, but moreover, what it shows is the disconnect between the police and the public and their ability to gather intelligence. Gathering intelligence is often murky, sometimes challenging, and sometimes you have to be extremely lawfully audacious. Using AI is pathetic. There's a massive disconnect. They don't know how to do the very, very basics of policing, these clowns.
One more call quickly. Cliff, good morning. We've got 1 minute. You're with me and Peter Blexley. Speak to me, my friend.
Hello, Jeremy, Peter. Yeah, ex-cop and myself, sort of middle management. This guy, he's got to go. He basically laid the carpet out when he said that he couldn't police a football match with the third biggest police force in the country, approximately 9,000 officers. At least 4,000 of those are operational, and probably 2,000 of those are specially trained to deal with that. Okay? And the big thing is the integrity of this man, it's zero. And that runs all the way down from top to bottom.
You'd agree with that, Pete, wouldn't you, quickly?
Entirely. He has to go. He simply has to go. It's appalling.
Listen, tonight is where? The Peter Blexley show rolls into what town?
Stamford, but it's sold out. So try and get a ticket for Basildon on Friday, Nottingham Saturday, Guildford Sunday, and I'll see you there.
Blexley, before we go, how's Mrs B's driving across the UK going? Is it all right?
She's absolutely wonderful. She's the best tour manager a man could wish for.
He is. She's about 10 feet from him. He is absolutely under the thumb. See you later, kiddo. Good luck tonight. Looking forward to it. This is Talk Breakfast.
Quite clearly, the West Midlands Police have given into lobbying from one particular section of their community, rather than thinking what is in the interest of the community as a whole. And when you hold a position like Chief Constable or Police and Crime Commissioner, you're beholden to the whole public of your area. You shouldn't just look at one particular little bit of it and say, oh, we'll do what they do, which apparently is what happened here. It's an absolute disgrace. I think the Chief Constable should resign. He should have resigned days ago.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Sport on the way. More on sort of dad jokes, really, from Keir Starmer. Jez, talk about inconsistency. 1 minute Starmer is castigating Elon Musk for permitting sexually explicit content to be created on Grok. The next is in Parliament making up some off-colour jokes about the Kama Sutra. Pick a lane, says Aubrey in Upminster. Josh is in Pewsey. Here is position 2 in the Kia Sutra. You need multiple partners for this one. You line up pensioners, farmers, veterans, car drivers, business owners, pub landlords, people who work, and then Keir Starmer screws them. So that's... Rachel's in Oxford. Has someone asked Grok if it can put Keir Starmer into a Keir Starmer culture position? Probably not. The biggest pothole in the land is number 10. Rick here from Nottingham. Read potholes. We used to spend more on roads when your road tax was supposed to go to repairing roads. Now we're told the road tax is for exhaust emissions. So the money goes towards stupid net zero. I'm beyond it. I can't take any more. 5 to 9. Push the button, Big M.
90 minutes in 90 seconds. From the Sun.
We say a very good morning to Catherine Walsh, a Manchester United fan. It's almost as bad as being a West Ham fan. Morning, Catherine.
Good morning, Jeremy.
Last night, it was a great game of football, actually, I have to say. Arsenal beating Chelsea 3-2 in the Carabao Cup semi-final. Man City winning the other day against Newcastle, two-legged, of course. Chelsea came back well. I repeat to you what I say to everybody. If Mikel Arteta doesn't win a trophy this season with this squad, he will be fired. They look streets ahead of everybody right now, right?
Yes, well, they definitely want to win the Premier League, and I think that's the main goal. Winning the Carabao Cup, I mean, you know, it's a trophy, but it won't be good enough for Arsenal fans. They definitely want that league title.
Yeah, but I agree, but silverware is silverware. Also, I can't say his name. Is it Victor Gok, whatever his name is?
Gyökeres.
That's
yeah.
him. He played his best game last night, didn't he?
He did, yes. He scored the first goal from open play since the start of November and also assisted another goal. I think the main positive from his performance last night was, and it was touched on commentary as well, His ability to draw away the Chelsea players away from the danger and sort of open up space for Martin Zubimendi. But of course, it was former United winger that Alejandro Garnacho came off the bench and got 2 late goals to make it 3-2. So it's only half the deficit going into the Emirates at the start of February.
And the new manager, Liam Rossini's done really well. He's lasted 2 games without being given the sack. Talking of which, you support Man United. That's interesting. Michael Carrick, new interim manager, at first training session. It doesn't... Do you know what I was thinking? And I'm a West Ham fan. I'm used to being humiliated.
Oh, no.
For a Manchester United team to not be in Europe, to be out of both cups by the end of January, not even the end of January, to have only 17 games left. Do you know how I'd turn Man United around, Catherine? I said this yesterday. I'd get their heads out of their backsides where they still believe this is the biggest football club in the world. It isn't. They need to almost go back to basics. And I love him very much. I've met him on several occasions. You need to put the Alex Ferguson, glory years aside and start from the bottom, don't you?
Yes, I do agree. I think in the optics of getting the old boys network back in again and only sort of sounding out Solskjaer and obviously hiring Carrick, it's not the best look. Paul Scholes and Nicky Butt being with Sir Alex Ferguson on the weekend, sitting in the director's box during their 2-1 loss to Brighton. I kind of do agree with Roy Keane that perhaps Ferguson might be stinking the pace out a little bit and they need to move on into the future, whilst respecting the past. But they seem to be the only club that hang on to these old legends from bygone eras.
Yeah. Who do you want in, by the way, in the summer? I'll tell you who you get if you want to know. You'll get Tuchel.
Yes, I mean, Tuchel obviously will be free after, well, if he doesn't sign on with England again, if his contract with England ends after the World Cup, he could obviously decide to rejoin there. Tuchel, I think, would be probably the best, but I don't think his personality, they didn't like Amorim being the manager. Ruben Amorim was obviously annoyed about that, and Thomas Tuchel's not going to be taking directions on how to coach a team from sporting directors.
Listen, great to have you on. Good luck to Man United. Catherine Walsh, Man United reporter for The Sun. Thank you very much indeed. Morning, Jez. Good to know that Keir Starmer knows about the Kama Sutra. Now, can you tell him and his atrocious government to go themselves? I see exactly where you're coming from. This is Talk Breakfast. Wayno.
Good morning, Jezza. I've gone to a dark place with this Starmer Sutra thing. I mean, I read it recently, and basically you have to lie to get the other person into the bedroom. Then when you are in the bedroom, you have to exaggerate on how good and how big things are. And then once you've done that, you have to bring a flip-flop to the situation. I don't understand what a flip-flop's for, but apparently it's quite vital. And then, basically, you have to just bend over backwards and just do anything the other person wants you to do. It's an interesting read. Wouldn't advise it, though. Gonna burn me eyeballs. Great show, buddy.
It's one of the biggest sporting spectacles on planet Earth, Super Bowl 60, and you could be there. Enter now at talk.tv/win for the chance to score a fantastic 4-day trip for 2 to the City by the Bay, San Francisco, including tickets to Super Bowl 60 and $2.5 grand in cold hard cash. It's Hail Marys and money. Enter now at talk.tv/win and get set for a gilt-edged trip to the Golden State you'll never forget. For your chance to win, text TALK to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate, or call 0343-418-7260. Lines close 22nd January 2026, 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talksport.com. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to All Breakfast on until 10 o'clock. My name's Jeremy Carr. Thanks for tuning in to the home of common sense and the place where alarm clock Brits, working Brits, people who care about this country come to have their say. As ever, you can text the show 87222. You can also, of course, send a voice note 0344 499 1000. We're talking about cancelled elections. 4 million of you no longer able to vote. You've no democratic right. We're talking about bent coppers, Craig Guilford. Yeah, you anti-Semitic lying piece of whatever in the West Midlands. You should have resigned by now, but you won't. You've kowtowed to a certain demographic and you're not doing your job, but the government's too weak to get rid of you. It's National Pothole Day. Samara Gill has got to go and find a pothole that's not covered and is big enough for her to stand in. All of that ahead of 10 o'clock. We've got Layla Cunningham. We'll speak to Jack Elsom, the political editor of The Sun, in just a minute. But yesterday, Keir Starmer, I mean, honest to God, what's happened to you lot? That's all you want to talk about. Keir Starmer stood up in the House of Commons and made a rather seedy joke about the Kama Sutra and said that the Tory party had more positions than the Kama Sutra. Morning, Kerry.
Morning, Jeremy. Kerry from Coventry. The only Kama Sutra Keir Starmer knows anything about is the mental gymnastics he's got to do while he's telling the country that everything's fine.
Lovely. Morning, Ash.
Hi, Ash from Preston here. Can somebody please take Jeremy's pen off him so he can't keep smacking it on the desk? Thank you.
No. This is great. Brian in Newcastle. Why was the Pokemon hiding under the bed, Big M? So he could Pikachu. Great. Dave's in Watford. Last month I hit a pothole and it cost me 580 quid. Just a perfect Christmas present. Great show. We're loving it. He's obviously quite ill. Jamie's in Bradford. West Midlands area shouldn't be able to host any international games, football or Invictus, until all police and anyone involved in this has lost their job. The police in the West Midlands are a disgrace. Roger's in Wales. If we get any more police with criminal backgrounds, I mean, we might as well locate a National Police HQ in the centre of a prison. Hello to Lee from Bexley Heath. Morning, Lee. He says, it makes me sick to see this lying chief constable sitting there in front of the world flashing his Rolex, was basically admitting to lying. Good show, mate. That's two people being nice. I've no idea. One final dad joke, which will have Ricky recoiling in horror, but I think it's great. Andy says, Jez, have you heard about the constipated mathematician who worked it out with a ruler? Brilliant. Right, we'll say a very good morning to the political editor for The Sun, a man who finds himself in this position of supreme importance, not because of me, but because he's so massively talented. Morning, Jack Elsom.
Good morning, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. Got a dad joke for me?
Oh, God. I must have some. You can't put me on the spot with these sort of things.
Don't worry, think about it.
Let's tell you what, let me think about it and I'll come back at the end of the show.
We had a lovely chat yesterday, Jack. We're not going to go into it, but he's very smart. His new coach has come back from holidays. Great relationship. Everything's great. Nice flat.
Yeah. You definitely weren't smoking.
Sorry?
What?
Yeah.
Nothing?
Listen, on a serious note, Mr. Elsom, and politics is they say politics is a dirty business. I think these two stories today, and I'm being serious now, I think these two stories today go to the very heart of what this station is about, Talk, and go to the very heart of how people in this country are feeling right now. We start with the front of the Telegraph. 4 million of us, Jack, to be denied the right to vote. Keir Starmer and his cohort will cancel local elections in 27 local boroughs, meaning hundreds of his councillors who will be voted out will stay in jobs. Reform and the Tories, let's make that point, have accused him of running scared and actually see this as an attack on our democratic rights. What do you say, Jack Elsom?
Yeah, it's not just Reform and the Tories. It is constitutional experts now who have come out and said that this is an outrage, because what you are having is councillors who should be serving 4 terms, some of which are now going to be serving 7 terms, and you are asking the councils themselves to decide whether or not they want to cancel elections. Nigel Farage made the point last year that it was like turkeys voting for Christmas, and that's how many people are going to see it. Dan Hodges described it as a slippery slope. And I think that, one, it's the constitutional outrage in itself, the fact that councillors are going to be serving 7 years without being put under the scrutiny of the ballot box goes against everything we stand for in our democracy. But also, I think the sort of sneaky, slippery way that the government tried to sneak this out in a document just before the end of parliamentary term have come under very little scrutiny for it in the Commons themselves, because they are ducking it. And I think that most right-minded people will go, what on earth is going on here?
I mean, I think the very essence, and again, I don't want to get too deep, but if you look at that as a story and you add into the West Midlands police story that we're talking about, you think about the discussions earlier in the week about X, and yes, AI chatbot Grok should be banned, absolutely, but if you're just going to target Starmer one platform and not others, you're going to run the risk of being accused of denying free speech. There are a lot of people in this country, Jack, who perhaps would never have voiced an opinion or felt this strongly. There's a massive amount of people in this country saying, actually, what are we getting from our government? Are they taking away? I'm not trying to be conspiratorial. What, we can't vote, we can't trust the police in certain areas. We're being told we can't use platforms. We've got people coming here using services that we pay for, and we're at the back of the queue. Fairness is my new word this morning on this show, and I don't think a lot of people feel this government is fair in any which way, my friend.
Well, I think, as I've told you before, it's also the word which is in my emails and the Sun's post bag every single day. People have that sense of unfairness basically being inbuilt into the system now. And it's easy to hit Labour over the head with various examples, but I think they felt it for quite a long time, actually. You know, you make the point about Alarm Clock Britain. You know, people are getting up in the work very early in the morning, slog their guts out all day, and don't have much change in their pocket at the end of it. Whereas, you know, you have an ever-growing benefit queue and a Labour government seemingly unable to do anything about it and unwilling to do anything about it, either because they don't want to tackle a thorny issue like that, or because they are basically a hostage to their own backbenchers who won't let them cut welfare. So, you know, all of these things together, I think, really do add to that sense of an injustice, which is felt by the majority of the hardworking, ordinary people, the alarm clockers, as you call them, in this country. And I think that it's almost, go back to the elections, it's almost sort of an arrogance on behalf of the government. Oh, we can cancel elections, you know, we can do what we want, we can do this, and you can just put up with it.
Certain things.
And I think that people are just a bit fed up with putting up with things at this point.
And then you talked about it. You said, you know, being held hostage. I mean, let's look at the other main news story, front of the Mail today, Jack. Shameless. We've talked about it for the last 3 hours about Craig Guilford. We've talked about the AI questions, the lies, the duplicity in front of MPs. We've talked about the facts, and the facts are that if you look at this case, you can only assume that this shameless man who refuses to quit, the, you know, Neanderthal Police and Crimes Commissioner who says, I need to look at all the facts, the Home Secretary who could quite easily, Jack, have sat Parliament all night and passed a law and fired this man this morning, all of them seemingly unable to make a decision, and so many people contacting this show, Jack, and saying, one of the most basic things we want, or expect actually, is a police force that knows the difference between right and wrong and polices on that mantra, not on certain demographics or what a group might say or do. We saw it with the Rotherham gangs. Dan Hodges is right. This is as shameless as an example. This is anti-Semitic, but it sends a message to the British people that certain groups can get round the police. And I mean, again, frightening, man.
Totally. And on his part, it's really a triple fault. It's the original sin of basically jigsawing information to fit your narrative that these Israeli fans were thugs when the evidence were to prove otherwise. Secondly was the cover-up and the conspiracy, denying that any such action was ever taken, despite the fact that that was completely dismantled and rubbished in Andy Cook's report yesterday. And then you have the third fault, which is now him digging in, and the unedifying spectacle of him having to be hoisted out by his fingernails. But you're right. I think that the public probably expect the politicians to pull the levers they've got. And, you know, Shabana Mahmood, clearly one of the more able performers in the cabinet, one of the more sort of punchy orators, but people don't want oratory at this point, they want action. She has said that she is going to pass laws to be able to sack chief constables, something
Am
which
I right
the
in
Tories
saying that she could have
stripped them
sat
of.
Parliament all night? You'd know
Well,
this.
this is what I was going to say, is that, you know, there have been examples where you don't just have to wait for the legislative timetable to allow for something. You can just get on and do it. Think about British Steel.
Yeah,
that was what was seen as a matter of national urgency and importance. So what did the government do? They recalled Parliament on a Saturday, rammed it through the Commons, rammed it through the laws in 24 hours, and then it was in the statute book like that. And, you know, I think that when there is such a groundswell of calls for something to happen, government should look to do those options more. They shouldn't just have to wait before, you know, Alan Campbell, the leader of the House of Commons, can fit it into his busy schedule. It has to be something which, you know, can actually act at speed and at pace. Other countries do it, and it seems that, you know, everything just grinds up and gets snarled up in the system here, and people lose faith because politicians say something and then there's no action to follow.
Do you know what's really interesting about what you just said is you used the British Steel example. It's quite right that in moments of what they consider to be a national... Think about after the horrors of Southport. We were told there were no police. Suddenly there were 6,000 on the street. We were told there were no judges, but suddenly these people were actually being tried within 24 hours. We were told that there were no spaces for them to be put in jails, and there were, OK? If there was a will... And again, you know, the optics of this government, I'd have thought that if you wanted to crush the belief that your party still has anti-Semitic parts to it, that this was a prime example for her to stride into the Commons yesterday and go, do you know what? This is a disgrace. I don't have the power, so I'm sitting in this house till 6 o'clock tomorrow morning on the statute book, and I'm going to phone and I'm going to fire his lying backside, because everybody knows that he's lying. And of course, people will say Parliament this and Parliament that. I think it comes down to will, to be honest. And I just again think that the people in Parliament and government don't understand. You talk about fairness. There's also palpable anger amongst the British people because they feel that politicians are making decisions when it suits them or when maybe a focus group has told them to do it rather than because it comes from inside them. I find this so abhorrent. If I'd been Shabana Mahmood, I would absolutely have stayed all night and fired his arse by 8 o'clock this morning. Genuinely hand on heart. This is a disgrace.
I think she probably presumed that he would fall on his sword. I don't think she actually... I don't think she probably calculated the fact that he would try and cling on to his job.
Maybe.
Because I don't think that anyone can really see how this is salvageable in any possible measure. You know, his authority is totally shot. You know, other police chiefs are calling for him to go as well, it seems. You know, he doesn't hold the confidence of anyone in Parliament, apart from Ayub Khan, a dishonourable exception. And so I probably don't think she bargained for that at all. But, you know, I think we're probably going to see more language by the end of the day. Wes Streeting has been out on the rounds today saying he'd be absolutely amazed if Craig Guilford was still in his post by the end of the day.
So listen, 9:15, what a fantastic column. I mean, some people write columns, but then you write the best. With Martina Bett, Jack Elson, page 10 of the Current Bun today. I mean, you're a day late, to be honest. I was doing this yesterday morning. Pressure mounts on PM, the faker's dozen. I see what you've done there. Because Faker Baker, brilliant. After the 13th U-turn in a little under 18 months, Starmer, is he next for the knackers yard? We talked about them yesterday. I mean, you know, tax grabs, inheritance, council tax, waspy women, pensioners getting their money for heating. There were 13 major U-turns. Is he ready for the knackers yard? Absolutely, isn't he, Jack?
Well, I think it's really dangerous for Keir Starmer because no one really knows what Starmerism is. But what we did know at the last election, and what his entire sell was, the closest thing he had to a political lodestar was, I am not the Tory party. And where the Tory party wreaks chaos and division, I'm going to be a beacon of stability. Now, in 18 months, we've had anything but stability. We've had scandal after scandal. We've had U-turn after U-turn. So for someone that doesn't have any sense of real conviction and any sort of like ideological driving force, the fact that he is so chaotic basically shoots his fox. The only thing he really had was the grown-ups are back in charge. And now we know actually the grown-ups are not back in charge because we have so many U-turns, it's almost impossible to keep count. U-turns actually, sometimes, if they're done quickly and if they're done cleanly, they can actually be effective.
Yeah, U-turns all right, but one a month's not great, is it?
Exactly, but also the fact that they spent so much political capital digging in. They were digging in with the winter fuel. They were digging in with farmers for so long. They were digging in with pubs. And now they've had to be kicking and screaming to a point where they don't get any credit for the U-turn whatsoever. But they do have the sense of utter shambles, which is going on at the heart of Downing Street. And I was saying yesterday to Peter, it's not like the Tories where it was like it's just a tinderbox every single day and, you're wondering about when he's going to go. The MPs are just depressed.
Well, I was going to ask you, so we were watching it yesterday, and you can see behind him there's sort of disbelief, anger, and just really... I mean, let's just play you a clip, because they are beginning to get cheesed off with him. Carl Turner, who I salute as a Labour MP, is the guy who says what they're trying to do in getting rid of jury trials is a complete disgrace, and if I have to, I will resign on the issue. Just have a look at this. This is Labour MP Carl Turner, ladies and gentlemen.
Look, there's no wonder Labour MPs are cheesed off. I've spoken to the Prime Minister privately and I've said to him, stop marching up the hill to march us back down again on policy positions which we know inevitably are not going to fit. The juries is a great example. It is unworkable.
Jack, is Carl Turner a one-off or is there growing anger amongst his own backbenchers?
It is genuinely remarkable when you speak to MPs how many of them seem to be past caring and how loyalty really has gone out the window because they think that this number 10 administration is on borrowed time. Or they think that the Sons are on borrowed time because they've got no chance of winning the next election, judging by the current polls. So they might as well just do what they want to do rather than towing the party line. And that's really dangerous for Keir Starmer because, people are currently wondering, by what mechanism are we going to get rid of him? Either it is going to be a frontline politician proactively twisting the knife in, or people could just sit on their hands and go, you know what, I'm actually not going to back you anymore. And when the machine, despite the fact he's got a massive majority, if your MPs aren't on side and he really hasn't shown them much love, then governing is just basically unmanageable. They get into this stuff.
Mate, your line has gone, which is devastating. We're going to have to let him go, but thank you, Jack. I really do appreciate it. He makes the point. Carl Turner makes the point. Let's go to Wolverhampton very quickly. Mark, good morning, sir. Sorry to change subject. How are you?
All right, Mr. Kyle. Nice to speak to you.
What can we do for you, my friend?
This pothole National Day today,
yes.
Just to let you know, around the Midlands, we call those temporary pothole repairs tarmac turds.
Sorry?
Because we call them tarmac turds, because they put a dollop of tarmac in the hole and roller it, and then 3 weeks' time it breaks up and falls out.
Brilliant. Tarmac turds in Wolverhampton. Are you enjoying the programme?
I love the programme. On another point, I ride a motorcycle. I refuse to go out when it's dark because of the potholes. Really? If they're full of water, you've got no idea how deep that pothole is.
I do think you should pay road tax, though.
Funnily enough, I just did that yesterday.
Good boy, well done. Can I just can I salute Wolves, because you're worse than West Ham, just?
I'm not a Wolves fan.
Who do you support?
A team outside my area.
Who do you support?
Man City.
Get off the line. Go away. You should at least support your local area. 9:21. Morning, Sharon.
Morning, Jez. Every day we wake up, something else is happening. Why are we still letting this happen in this country? We can see it. Everybody's talking about it. I know we've got a crap government, but why are we not all getting our acts together and sorting this out now? Are we just going to wait until the poor people in Iran have been trodden down that far that they've had to then take it into their own hands, ruining their own country or trying to get their own country back?
Mark Dolan. Join me every weekend from 6 a.m. for the stories that matter to you. We talk politics, we talk news, we talk entertainment, we talk about everything that affects your life. There's only one place to start your weekend, the home of common sense. Talk Breakfast on Talk. 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every Friday, Saturday and Sunday here on the home of common sense.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 9:24. We're live across the United Kingdom on the home of free speech and common sense. Julia Hartley-Brewer here from 10 o'clock and Ian Collins from 1 o'clock. We're talking about cancelled elections. We're talking about bent coppers. We're talking about potholes. And we're talking about Keir Starmer trying to make a joke about the Kama Sutra. But forget all of that, because we've now got the lady. This lady will be, if there's anything to do with me, the next mayor of London, because Keir, what's he call that one in London? Sadiq Khan. Ugh. Layla Cunningham, good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy. How are you?
You wouldn't have a dad joke, would you? You're far too classy for that.
A dad joke?
Yeah, no.
Sex joke, like Kama Sutra.
Honestly, we're now calling it the Keir Sutra.
I mean, just a thought.
Do you know what? Let's leave it there. I've got a slight bit of a sicky feeling in my my mouth. Welcome to the show. How's the campaign going? Has it started? Is it on a serious question, actually?
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of going early is to just highlight that come May 7th, that's your real chance to, it's a referendum on Sadiq Khan and effectively Labour's London. Does it work for you, or does it just work for Labour?
Well, it's interesting to ask you because, I mean, there are two main news stories dominating today, as you would imagine. The first is I think, utterly appalling. The second is as appalling. Front of the Telegraph later in every newspaper, 4 million denied the right to vote in May. 27 councils Keir Starmer and his cohorts are going to cancel, taking away that democratic right from people. His excuse is that he needs to reconstruct or whatever, reconfigure certain areas. I think Reform and the Tories today very quickly coming out and saying this is a lie, this is a blatant attack on our democracy. How can it be seen in any other way, Layla Cunningham?
I just want to point to the hypocrisy of the Tories, because they do have two councils that are going ahead with cancelling the election, and they were in for cancelling the election last May as well. Don't forget, we would have won a lot more seats if the Conservatives didn't cancel their election. So they talk about democracy, but I don't think they actually believe in it. They all just want to hold on to power, and that's what you're seeing.
What do you make of the overall decision? You're right there about the Tories, actually.
I mean, it's outrageous. Elections are not, they're not optional. And you are elected for a certain amount of time. Once that time runs out, you've lost the mandate to govern. That's it. We elect you for a certain amount of time. You don't go over it. You don't choose how long your term is. That's for the electorate to choose.
Have you heard their excuse? Their excuse is, well, the only problem is, of course, is that, because we're changing structures, etc., that if we held the elections now, people might only be in a position for a certain number of months. I don't think that matters at all. I think there are certain things at the very, heart of what makes us a democracy, and your right to vote, in or out, whatever, is part of that. It has to be part of that. This is, we're not in a conspiracy. Several stations might well be. There's people contacting this station saying, well, what next? Are they going to cancel the general election? Are they going to cancel anything that they don't like? And you look at, we'll talk about the police in a minute, but you look at the attack on free speech, you talk about the undemocratic approach of cancelling elections, we'll talk about the West Midlands in a minute, and you start to think, bloody hell, what is really going on here?
This is a government, and I say the Tories as well, that don't trust the people. They don't trust the electorate, and they don't want to put their faith in them because they know that they're going to be elected out. It's basically Keir Starmer protecting his position. Don't forget, they also cancelled all the mayoral elections that we were polling to win.
Oh, yes, of course, they have cancelled. How many mayoral elections did they cancel?
I can't remember, but, you know, quite a few that I think we were polling to win all of them. The thing is, restructuring goes on all the time. And if they really did want to cancel the election, then they should have had us vote on it, should have been in their mandate. They should have had foresight enough to know that it would take longer than I don't know how long they've been empowered to do. And they should have said cancelling elections could be a possibility. They didn't mention any of this.
No, of course they didn't. They mentioned nothing actually in their consent. Now, there's a reason I want to talk about the next story, and I can bring it back to London, but we all know by now the shameless behaviour of the liar that is Craig Guildford, the West Midlands Police Chief Constable. He's lied to Parliament, he's lied to the people. His police force has used AI to generate an image to basically be anti-Semitic. I'm not going to dress it up any more than that. I think it's outrageous. I think he should resign. Mahmood yesterday jumping up and saying, you know, this is it. I don't have any trust in him. Well, you should have kept Parliament sitting all night and brought in a law and thrown him out the door. Can I ask you something? He won't fall on his sword. Mahmood can't and doesn't have the power to sack him. This police and crime commissioner in the Midlands, Simon Foster, is the only person who can. He's a Corbynista. If you win the mayoral election in London, do you think it right and proper that the mayor should also be the police and crime commissioner? Because Sadiq Khan would be making that decision in London, wouldn't he?
He is the police and crime commissioner.
I know. I mean, how does that work?
Well, I mean, you saw, so when I announced my candidacy last week, it was Sadiq and the commissioner that came out, you know, guns blazing, talking about homicide rates are down and how London's the safest it's ever been. Complete gaslighting of people. They're so focused on policing public perception. Rapes up, shoplifting's up, robberies up, muggings up, rapes up, you know, everything is up. And it's interesting because when they talk about violent crime in Mopac, they don't include rape. Women are just not important to the mayor. But going back to Craig Guildford, of course he must go. You know, that's what happens when police leaders care more about public perception, politics and managing outrage than protecting the public. He's been politicised. And then did you see that the leader of some mosque was on his selection panel?
I'll tell you something else. Did you see the Labour MP Ayub Khan yesterday? Let's play this for everybody. This is the Labour MP who thinks that the Chief Constable is facing unfair criticism. Have a watch. This is an elected official.
This is truly a sad day for British politics, and despite all the rhetoric we have in this House, Brummies know the truth, that this is nothing but a witch hunt, and the Chief Constable is being thrown under the bus. The Home Secretary knows all too well that West Midlands Police have a reputation for working with all communities.
The West Midlands Police, with respect, do not have a reputation for working with all communities. They have a reputation for being corrupt, being under special measures, and I think might well signal that there should be concern across this country that police groups police forces could be kowtowing to certain demographics. Look at what happened in the rape gangs inquiry in Rotherham.
Wasn't it West Midlands?
What?
Wasn't the West Midlands part of the rape gang cover-up?
Yeah, it was. It was. And the rape gang further north, the police said it took us 8 years because we didn't want to upset the local Muslim community. And I want to ask you this specifically because this is not racist or far right. This is factual. In my humble opinion as a voter, if my government is saying you can't vote, and by the way, your police won't judge their work on what's right and wrong, it'll base it on, you know, whether we feel we're going to upset that person against that person. That's anarchy, isn't it, Layla? Anarchy.
And let's not forget, and by the way, if you get arrested for hate speech that we deem to be dangerous speech and you go to trial, we're not really going to give you a jury anymore. We're going to put a judge that works for the state to judge you. It is, let's call it how it is, Jeremy. This is an authoritarian regime.
Are you surprised? I've been asking this of people all morning. Are you surprised? And I know the easy answer is no, it's socialism, but let's just step back a minute and think about what you just said. No juries, no vote, corrupt police, ID cards, maybe not, X and other platforms to be banned. Did you honestly, genuinely 18 months ago think it could be this bad? Because I didn't.
No, absolutely not. I didn't think. I honestly thought they would put their hands in our pockets every single day, ask us to rein in our spending while they didn't rein in theirs. But I didn't think they'd come after our freedoms. And I see myself now, and I see Reform as freedom fighters, because that's what we're doing.
What's the reaction been in London? I just want to ask you another question. I spoke to everybody I was doing my work at the weekend. Nadeem Zahawi announced on Monday. Mixed bag, I won't lie. I think everybody had David Bull on the show. Interestingly, proving that this country is this country. Nobody talked about HMRC. Some said it's become a home for disenchanted Tories, but most people moaning about the vaccine and the impact that his work did. What do you feel and see about Nadeem Zahawi and Reform going forward?
Well, listen, I think what it shows is that the Tories are a sinking ship and everyone's trying to get out before it sinks. I don't think he'll be the last. But you got to give credit where credit's due. He built YouGov, which is a massive company. He's a successful businessman. And we need people who are successful in business, talking to governments and talking to parties. But it does signal that people are just leaving the Conservatives in droves. And what's interesting is...
What do you say to the Reform people who say, my listeners and viewers, got to ask the question, we don't need that. Reform can... And obviously you balance the argument, people will say, but you haven't got enough experience. How do you say to the Reform voters, many of them contacting us going, nah, I can't have that. This is becoming a retirement home for failed Tories. There's surely enough new blood.
He's a foot soldier. He said it in the press conference. He's not guaranteed any kind of position. He's a foot soldier, and he recognises that Reform is the party of business. It's the party of real Conservative values. And as we've seen, it's a party of freedom.
Be very interesting, actually. We know this, you and I, but be interesting to see if there are any defections from the Labour Party, because I think that's also potentially, in terms of optics, a game changer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, anyone, as we've said, anyone who loves their country and wants the best for it and is not there to serve a party will be welcome in Reform, because, if everyone's allowed to change their mind and everyone is allowed...
Well, the electorate have in their millions, so you could argue that politicians can as well, right?
I mean, listen, I understand people's concerns. The electorate want in power. The electorate want ministers making decisions, so... People who defect who are ministers are held to a higher standard. But everyone's allowed to change their mind. And we really want people who want the best for the country, not the best for, international relations, not the best for the Europe, as we're seeing with Starmer, who want the best for this country and will do whatever it takes to prioritise the British public.
Just going back to London before we let you go, always grateful and good to have you on. How do you feel as you approach this battle? Sadiq Khan seems to have a monopoly on madness, I'd say. You genuinely have, if you look at the polls, a very good chance. Does it excite you or frighten you the next however many years?
I mean, in a way, no, it excites me massively because it's a city I love. But obviously, everyone's telling me, they're going to come at you, they're going to do this. I mean, God knows what they're going to invent.
Well, can I make you feel better?
Yeah, go on.
Been there, done it, worn the T-shirt, came out the other side. I'll look out for you, love, trust me. It's all that's BS. All you want to do is tell the people what you believe in and they will vote on that, and they have a right to vote on that. They might vote for Reform, they might not. The mainstream media and all your thing, of course they'll come. That's life.
And I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. And I'm ready to fight for London because, as I said, London is in my heart. It's where I made my life. It's where I'm building my life. I've always lived here. And I'm not ready to see it succumb to crime and politicians who are in it for themselves.
Brilliant. Listen, great to have you on. Thank you so much. Good luck. We keep the fight going. Layla Cunningham, Reform's candidate for London Mayor, up against Sadiq Khan. And actually, people have said to me all week, even if I don't support Reform, to get that piece of work out, we'll probably go with Layla Cunningham. 23 minutes to 10 o'clock, 23 minutes away from Julia Hartley-Brewer. So much in the news. You can't vote. You can't trust the police. You can't use certain platforms. But the most important thing is that Keir Starmer managed to tell a joke yesterday about the Kama Sutra, which caused everybody to cringe and led us to just try and get through this madness by saying, have you got any dad jokes? Morning, Phil.
Morning, Jess. Phil from Hearts. Here's a dad joke for you. I went to the doctor. So he said, Doctor, I've got a strawberry stuck up my backside. The doctor said, don't worry, son. I've got some cream for that.
God's sake. Go to the break.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. 20 minutes to 10. We're live across the UK on the station that gives you the chance and the opportunity to have your say. It is Talk. Welcome along. Why does my sound always give up at the wrong moment? It's just the way it is. Thank you for tuning in today. Now, earlier on, we announced... Well, we didn't announce. We just told you it's National Pothole Day. We spoke to Mr. Pothole himself. And bless her, Samara Gill, armed with an umbrella and a cameraman who doesn't know his way around the office. I'm joking, Joe. Out she went. I poo-pooed her first attempt at a pothole. It was filled in. Because that's the situation. Because all over this country, there are potholes. I am assured that the First Lady of Breakfast Reporting has found a hole. Good morning, Samara Gill. Yes, it's a hole. It's got water in it.
Good morning. Good morning. Hello. Yes. Oh my goodness. Look at that. That's a massive pothole. If you're listening, I mean, that's sort of beyond comparison. I don't want to put my my boot in because I think it'll be completely sort of in that pothole.
That's not why. It's because it's a Chanel boot.
There's a car just about to go across it.
Listen.
Well, there's that too.
Yeah, that is that too. Yeah, listen to me. On a how deep is it? Can we try it all? Can you put your boot in it?
Look.
She's not going to do it.
I mean, are they gonna? No, I can put the boot in it. It's just I'm just trying to get away now from the. I mean, just look at that.
Go on, woman. Go on. Put your boot in it. No, in it. Put your boot in it.
No, it's very deep. It's very deep.
And that would destroy.
Very deep.
Look at that. That would destroy your car.
It's a very deep hole, Jeremy. Yeah, that would absolutely destroy your car.
They're everywhere, all over our capital.
Here, and cars have been trundling across. This is what's going on in the country. Every single day, there's millions of potholes in the United Kingdom that are not filled, and there's no budget either to fill them. That's what's going on.
Which is really interesting when you consider how 17 million people use the roads, and they spend all that tax and everything, and we argue about this every single day. They destroy motorists' lives with increased fuel duty and the state of our roads. I said earlier, Samara, I used to spend a lot of time in Barbados. Their roads are appalling. They're better than the United Kingdom. Something needs to be done, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I've spent a lot of time in India, and now they've got better roads than us because they've also got a better workforce that's a lot cheaper and less unionised. And I think, you know, if we could just get out here and redo these roads, it would improve everyday life for Britons. But they're just not going to do it. They haven't pledged nearly enough money. As I said earlier, $7 billion over 4 years. That's just not going to cut it when apparently what it would cost to fix everything is well over $16 billion. So it's costing the average sort of vehicle owner quite a lot of money every day, and there doesn't seem to be the sort of care that we would want from the government about this.
Absolutely right. Can I just say I'm a massive fan. I think you've been brilliant this week, and it was Damien who made the following comment, so you can blame him. He said, unbelievably, she had more success this week finding 2 illegal migrants than she did a bloody pothole that she could put her foot in. I think he's out of order. And when you come back to the office, you have a word with Damien, all right, Samara?
I'm better with illegal migrants than potholes, I'll tell you that much.
You're a legend. Thank you so much indeed. Samara Gill, our roving reporter, out and about on National Pothole Day, 17 minutes to 10. The other big... Well, there's news stories all over. International, national. Today we concentrated on, obviously, you know, changing electoral habits and also shameless corrupt coppers. Across the world, though, we will all sit and watch what's obviously been going on in Ukraine with Russia, and certainly what's transpiring in Iran. We started the week talking about how, you know, Iran needs to be free. This is a terrible regime that finances almost every terror group known to man. Trump last night... it's a difficult moment. We're told he could strike Iran in the next 24 hours. US troops have been withdrawing from bases across Iran amid fears first protest prisoners have been hanged. He said if anybody gets hanged, that's the red line for him. We've also heard him say earlier overnight, oh, you know, we think that the protests have stopped. That could be rhetoric. Everybody seems to be on tenterhooks to this. Let's cross to Phoenix, Arizona. KTAR Phoenix, the morning news presenter, LaDonna Harvey. LaDonna, how are you? LaDonna. How are you, LaDonna?
I'm doing good. LaDonna or LaDonna. It doesn't matter.
Well, LaDonna over here is a doner kebab. I've been up 15 hours. I'm a bit hungry. Is America on a knife edge as it waits to hear what Trump will do, or are they used to this?
Well, at this point, we're kind of used to it, but, you know, this is a president who ran basically on saying we don't want to be at war anymore, and we seem to be poking the hornet's nest wherever we can. I think that Iran has been ripe for resolution or revolution for a long time, but it's really up to the people of Iran.
Yeah.
I think it makes people very nervous to say, oh, we're going to go into another foreign country in the Middle East, which hardly ever works out, and help them. I don't know what the next steps are.
I think the sort of feeling over here is, and just I'm not saying it's going to help you guys. Let's not forget, as I say every day, that this is a vile regime that has financed the mad mullahs, almost every terrorist organisation in the world, right? You know, you think Hamas, Houthis, in the Middle East, they've caused carnage. I think that if there's a chance that the people of Iran want this regime brought down, then the world should help that happen. The problem is, LaDonna, and you know this better than anybody, you do it for a living, it's what happens afterwards, and both the Americans and the Europeans have past history in that. You go in, you save the world, and what happens afterwards? And that would be the issue, which is why it's a fine balancing act, I suspect, between going in and doing it short and sweet and actually hanging around for years to try and maintain, you know, some sort of control, I suppose, right?
Right. You know, take a look at how long we were in Afghanistan. How did that work out for us? I mean, you know, anytime there's regime change, it has to be backed by the people, which I think that this has been happening in Iran for a long period of time, between, you know, dragging women out of cars because their hair wasn't properly covered, their scarf slipped, and beating them to death in the streets. I think that Iranians have had enough. But this is really about self-determinism, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do Iranians want? I don't know. That's a question they have to answer. How much help can we give? I also don't know. It's an interesting position to be in.
Let's just have it. No,
frankly.
I agree. Let's have just a look at your president, DJT. Let's just see. This can be taken many ways. Let's see what he said overnight.
Iran is on my mind when I see the kind of death that is happening over there, we think. So we're going to get some accurate numbers. I'll have it in about 20 minutes. We'll get some accurate numbers as to what's happening with regard to the killing.
The instance of U.S. strikes against U.S. assets in the Middle East. What do you say to U.S. service members about why it's worth the risk to intervene in Iran?
Yeah, Iran said that the last time I blew them up with the nuclear capability, which they don't have any longer. So Iran said that the last time. They better behave.
LaDonna, I'm not even going to apologise. Just that line. That's what they said the last time before I blew them up. I mean, God, we've got such a sap in charge here who won't even let us elect anybody or vote or even use any... I mean, honest to God, just whatever you think of him. Yeah, they said that the last time I blew them up. Extraordinary.
You know, he is at the very, very least, he is wildly entertaining. You know, he knows how to jerk people's chains, and that's what he does masterfully, both here and abroad. And I think if I was in Tehran and I don't know if my title was Ayatollah, I'd be very nervous right now.
Well, look at what happened.
Very nervous.
Look what happened to Maduro in Venezuela. And to make you realise that Phoenix, Arizona, one of my favourite cities, as you know, in America, right? You're in a very privileged position. In this country, have you been to Britain recently?
I actually, over Christmas I was there, but I got sick. I'm still trying to shake it. What's the matter with you people?
Of course you got sick. Well, I just wanted to let you know that our Prime Minister, Sir Dreary Stalin, he actually has a lower approval rating than Maduro had in Venezuela before you lot grabbed him.
Wow, a dictator. That's, you know, you're doing well. Be proud. I think.
Not at all. Listen, great to have you on, Donna. We'll keep everybody updated throughout the day here on Talk. Will Donald Trump strike Iran? Will he move forward in that way, or is it just rhetoric? Certainly, there can't be anybody listening to this that doesn't think that that Iranian revolting regime needs to be at an end. I've decided that I'm going to just try and spread a little bit of happiness before we finish. We're very critical of Keir Starmer today in terms of cancelling elections, not having the courage through his Home Secretary to sack corrupt police officers. We've talked about let's get rid of juries so you could have a bent trial. All of this stuff. We've humiliated him about the jokes that he tried to tell yesterday. But let's play you. This is a new Labour TV ad as I head towards the break. This should make you all be aware that actually, irrespective of everything that we say on Talk, he's doing a great job and Great Britain is in a fantastic...
While Britain struggled, some politicians have tried to exploit your problems, not to solve them. Politicians who tell you that Britain is broken and who want to talk this great country down. But when things start to get better, when we choose renewal, not grievance, show that our problems can be solved and that the future is in our control, then the real Britain can shine through. A Britain that has always weathered the storms of history, stuck to its decent, compassionate, tolerant values, and above all, a Britain that is confident that if we unlock the potential of every single person and every single community, then the future belongs to us. This year, in every corner of this country, that is what Labour is building. So let's renew Britain together.
This is the Political Asylum, current affairs, international news, letting criminals off while sending... Oi! Oi! You shut up! I'm trying to record something.
Stand by for 3 powerhouse hours of breaking news, challenging views. I don't give a flying damn about international law. I think people will viscerally reject this.
We're with you every weekday night, Monday to Friday, 7 until 10 p.m, right here on Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. 7 minutes to 10. We're live across the UK. Thank you to the team this week, to Damien, to Mark, to the amazing Christian and the lady... pardon? I know her name's Neha. I was about to say thank you very much indeed. You've been amazing. Very quickly, I just want to go to a former Labour Party donor and former nighttime economy advisor for Greater Manchester, Sacha Lord. Good morning.
Morning, Jeremy.
I don't want to have a go, but I can't vote, I can't fly my flag, I can't trust the police, I can't tell a joke, and we're totally bleeding skint. Welcome to Starmer's Britain, an organisation that you said was going to change us, and yet now you're tweeting saying that Rachel Reeves is worse for pubs than COVID, man.
Absolutely. So I was at the manifesto launch, Jeremy, not far away from your old studios in Manchester, actually.
Now.
And the Chancellor stood there and said she was the Chancellor of business and growth. And it couldn't be further from the truth. And what's absolutely galling about that video you've just shown is to talk about entrepreneurship, that there's a video of a guy serving in his bakery, and what they have done for my sector. The 5th biggest industry in the whole of the UK, the 3rd largest employer, is unforgivable. Since the last budget, the previous budget, not the one in November, we've lost 110,000 jobs.
Yeah.
The vast majority of those are for young people who have got jobs to support themselves getting through college or university. They're gone. And then this business rates debacle. I'm calling for a resignation here because she stood up in Parliament and said she'd work with hospitality, she'd work with the trade bodies, and now she's done a U-turn to say, well, actually, I wasn't fully involved in all the facts.
Sasha, we know each other, so I was joking before, but what I wanted to make the point was that this isn't just about people who would never vote for the Labour Party. I, more than anybody, know how much of a pig's ear the Tories made of it. And I honestly, your glasses could have stood for Prime Minister at the end of the last election and won. They didn't have to say anything, but I cannot believe, and you were a die-hard Labour supporter calling for her resignation. She won't resign, because without her, he's gone and he's a dead man walking. I cannot believe the incompetency, the lack of planning, the lack of thought, the optics. It's like watching... I mean, it was 18 months, Sasha, the largest majority in post, well, since probably time began. They are a shambles, man, aren't they?
He's a dead man walking and a fish rots from the head. And I'll tell you what's going to happen, Jeremy. Local elections, 7th of May.
If they're allowed.
I know some really good, hard-working councillors who I've worked with over the years when I was putting my festivals on and things like that. They are going to lose their jobs simply because of the way the government have annihilated my sector. It is unforgivable.
You were always a major supporter of Andy Burnham. There are rumours that he's trying to get into the Commons. He wants to challenge him. We've looked at Wes Streeting. He seems to say all the right things at the right time. How long do you think Starmer lasts? And does Andy Burnham come for him?
Look, all I'd say is all eyes are on Greater Manchester. We're outperforming every other city region economically. You know, we are the UK's capital of nightlife, according to the Sunday Times. Greater Manchester is bouncing. Why would we want to lose Andy Burnham when he's transformed the region?
You're going to disagree with me, but I know this for a fact. The reason that Andy Burnham's got a major problem is he can't stand in Manchester because you're behind in every single constituency to reform, aren't you?
Well, we'll have to see, won't we? But I agree with you. Reform are going to wipe a lot of Labour seats out come the 7th of May. It's inevitable.
It's really interesting, though, pal, to speak to somebody who, you know, and fair play to you. You've got your position, you supported them, you believed them, you thought they'd make a difference. And you are, from not only a business point of view, but also from a sort of belief point of view, you've lost that feeling. We really appreciate it. Sasha, good to see you, my friend. My regards to everybody in Manchester, almost 10 o'clock. Don't forget Julie here. Well, she's in here in a minute. Ian Collins here from 1 o'clock this afternoon, which will be fantastic. And I think, is it Peter Cardwell on Drive? Peter Cardwell on Drive? Nobody's got a clue. Peter Cardwell on Drive. It is. Julia's just... How are you?
I'm very well. Good morning. Good morning.
You're matching the jacket in the picture, which
I am. It's not actually the same jacket.
I love the colours.
I like a lot of pink.
I like the brightness of you every morning. The greens and the reds and the pinks.
You know.
Can I just sum up Great Britain?
Oh, God, here we go.
You can't vote. You can't trust the police. You can't have a free speech.
A lot of people don't have water.
No, we've got no water and we're bloody skint. How are you?
It's all going very well. Happy January, everybody.
Happy January.
Hey. I mean, it's extraordinary. I mean, there's just so much going on.
Dry January in the southeast, though. That's true, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Westminster Chief Constable, West Midlands Chief Constable, still not going. I mean, wow. Classy this guy is not, Craig Guildford. He's probably going to be gone by the end of the day.
Would you not have sat Parliament, Mahmood, through the night like you did with British Steel? And I would, you would, and had a law by 6 o'clock this morning and fired his backside.
I think, again, a lot of the time we genuinely think, oh, people do the right thing. Well, yeah, awful lot of times they do not. I mean, he should have gone long ago. I don't know why she's suddenly lost confidence. Really interesting. BBC, don't think this story is a big story. No, genuinely, they don't think this is a big story.
Why?
I know, they think water shortages for some people are... I wonder why.
Do you,
is
like
it
me,
it involves
believe
an
that
Islamist
this...
mob?
Yeah.
That's what the story's about. It's about an Islamist mob telling the police what to do, and the police going, jump, how high? That's what this story... And then lying about it.
And you know what I said this morning, and I'll say it all the time? If our police... You don't even need to say Islamists. If our police are policing to appease any particular
I don't want them
group,
to be told what to do by me.
I'm sorry, I thought the police were about that's wrong, that's right. If you're wrong...
The law. The law is the same for everybody. That's literally the point of the law in a country like this. I mean, also, here's the thing. That's why we have elections, democratic accountability, but not in a large parts of the country. The idea that you let people in office to decide whether or not there's an election. What could possibly go wrong?
It's almost like you couldn't have messed this up